Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
You really adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Bazinga.
2 in the box.
Ready to go.
We be fast.
They be slow.
Cool.
My voice, which is not.
And we're recording. And we're recording. Thank you.
Stop.
What? Welcome to the Mt.Geekmore podcast, your favorite podcast where we like to talk, discuss, argue about your top 4, your Mount Rushmores, if you will, of your favorite pop culture subjects. And today's pop culture subject, as you can tell by your listening device, is favorite 1980s sitcoms. Sitcoms that took place in the 80s. So I am Nary Science. With me, as usual, is Jeff. And we have David.
Howdy.
And today we have a blast from the past. Blast from the past. We have
Thunder from down under.
We have our own.
That's me.
We have our own TBT. Throwback Thursday. It is Steph, anie, Meyer-Senior.
I was waiting for
She
that
come
one.
from the land down under.
So Stephanie's here visiting. She has her brother's wedding.
Yeah.
And we decided to sneak her in for a dinner. You brought your boyfriend?
Yes.
Fiance? I don't know.
Partner.
What is, I don't
Whatever.
know. Partner.
Well, I mean, in Australia, he's my partner.
G'day.
I promise he's real.
And Dave, we wanted to get him food that he hadn't had before. So my initial reaction was Venezuelan food. And then my wife's initial reaction was Nicaraguan food. So it's funny because we're thinking about the other person.
Aw.
And so I was like, I want to get him something he's never had before. And then she was like, well, let's get him Outback. And I was like, I don't.
That would have been.
Fake Australian food.
I don't know if that's. I'm like, I want to get him good food that he hasn't had before. So I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah. To be fair, I do actually want to take him there one day. Just to see.
Just to have a blooming onion, just to see.
Yeah.
I
Who wants one?
I guarantee you that the waitress is going to be like, wait, you're really Australian?
Why are you here?
Code blue.
You think the waitress is going to speak English?
Oh, that's true.
In Miami?
Here.
Yeah, he did point that out the other day. That usually, like, I am getting used to the fact that everyone's going to speak to you in Spanish first.
Yeah.
Welcome to Outback.
Yeah.
You sound like you're from London.
He gets it a lot.
So,
You will have a taste of Down Under?
hey,
That sounds dirty when she says
if
it.
the YouTube YouTube and Facebook videos are any indication, just be glad that they try to speak to you in English. If they do try to speak
That's
to you in
true.
English.
That's true.
This is Hialeah.
Yeah, that happened at a Taco
Yep.
Bell.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that?
No.
No, you didn't see that video?
Oh, man.
No.
We thought it went viral everywhere, but apparently it didn't cross the ocean. Lady from Taco Bell in Hialeah, there was a customer. The video starts with a lady already getting mad at him, and he was like, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, I can't. I'm trying to order food, and she's like, yo no entiendo. No entiendo. And he was like, let me talk to a supervisor. And the supervisor came and was like, no entiendo, no entiendo. Like, they were just.
Oh.
Neither one of them was trying very hard to be understood. So that from the customer's perspective, they were right in the sense that they're the customer and the customer's always right and, whatever. But you could have been like a numero uno, a 1-0,
Yeah,
a 2.
like
You could put fingers
that
up, you know
one.
what I'm saying? And be like 4. They come in fucking combos. Like, you could do
Yeah.
that. However, they didn't do that. But the Taco Bell people, legit, the lady was like, no. She was like, I'm not, like, in Spanish, she was like, no, so I could get it. And then they were recording it. And then when they left, this is what got her fired. And she's like, esta es Hialeah. And that was her thing, her reason for not speaking English to them.
Because she does.
It's the reverse of how you thought that story would go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, that's tricky. I don't know where I land there. I land in good customer service.
No, they were definitely wrong in that sense. I mean, even though they were wrong. I mean, but to me, the customer was like, they didn't even try. Like, they were just like, dude, like, again, you shouldn't have to try.
Yeah.
You're the fucking customer.
Right.
And you're in America, you really shouldn't have to try. But if I'm I'm just, as a fat guy, I'm like, no, I'm fucking hungry. I'm gonna, whatever language you speak, bro.
I will learn it.
We will fucking.
We'll work this out.
Yeah.
Give me a step stool. I will climb up there and point at the number.
Climb.
Whoa.
Yeah, I just, I would, I was Siri, fucking Siri. How do you say
Uno?
How do you say just fucking churro? Like I don't like. I just shit.
No, like just give me a paper.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll write down the number.
I'll draw it for you.
Anyways, so that's that. But that was old school. Anyways, so we are now doing the Mt.Geekmore of 80s sitcoms,
which everybody's had enough ample time to prep for.
Yes, so much time. Much time.
So much ample time.
I'm not done.
The ampleness of her time.
It's a good thing you go first.
Hey, you want to use a coaster? You uncultured swine.
I was using the sticker that's broken.
I've been watching. Whatchamacallit?
Cool. Good talk.
Toy Story. Sorry. All right. So
I was trying to figure out what that line was from, and I couldn't remember. Yeah, that's it. You uncultured swine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they're
It's
talking
after
to the piggy bank.
look, I'm a Picasso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't get it. I'm like, you uncultured swine.
What are you looking at, you hockey puck?
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that movie well. I can't
You
believe
are such a
I didn't pick that up.
You are
right
full
away.
parent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why.
Let's go with that.
Yep.
Let's go with that.
Yeah. Okay. Who is having to deal with this? Okay, so I'm accustomed to our format and knowing that it's a top 4. Right. However, with that said, apparently this is like
you're so confused with this.
Key time of sitcoms. Like I'm just really torn. I need something that helps me.
You're Natalie
eliminate. I'm so torn. Like I need help. I need someone help me.
So you're looking for like You're looking for self-imposed rules. Go with the ones that the theme songs you know the best.
I'm gonna check right
I bow to your better knowledge.
Okay.
Tell us everything about Natalie and Bruglia, Dave. No.
Is Natalie? She is Australian, right?
That's what I'm checking right now.
It seems to be the
no, that's an Australian singer-songwriter.
There you go.
Yeah. Naturalized in the UK.
Neri just solved all my problems.
So we just to make clear, it has to be a show with the majority run in the 80s. It can't have started in the 80s and then run through.
Yeah, it can be like
have the majority run in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So like Family Matters is out.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, or fortunately, because it makes this list easier, because it's already tough for me.
Right, yeah. This is tough as it is.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, but as a kid who grew up watching, like, remember Nick at Night?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I can't hear you, because you don't have your...
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do my homework.
Would you like the larger mic stand so that you don't have to be...
Yeah,
one of those is a sensitive mic. You shouldn't be grabbing it to begin with.
But can you hear him? Is it acting up?
I don't know.
Well,
Hello?
let's find out later.
No, what's up?
It's the rubbing or that you could hear.
Would you like the little mic stand?
Should I rub it harder to find out?
So I don't rub it. I'll just hold it like this.
Cradle it.
I'm like the Freddie Mercury of podcasting right now.
You have to kind of like tilt it upwards.
I don't think you're overrated.
Oh, okay, you shut
I don't
your
even believe that.
mouth.
I just want to get a reaction from
That
people.
was fucked.
Everybody just looked like they were like,
I realized that you could just do a mountain of shows with tiny people.
What?
I have a mountain right now
Peter
where the main
Dinklage?
where the main, no, I'm saying of main
80s
characters
shows,
of
yeah.
80s sitcoms.
Yeah.
I could do it right now.
Oh, yeah.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, nobody mentioned. I'm looking at you, Dave. If this is on your mountain,
All right.
But you go Small Wonder, Webster, Different Strokes, Alf. All little people is a
Well, he's not a
Alf was a
person.
puppet,
Yeah.
He's a little person though,
but he's a puppet.
but he's
They
tiny.
used a little person for some shots, though.
Oh,
No,
well,
he's a child.
Was it a child?
Are they full grown?
That's not a little person. A little person is actually a title. Is actually a description of a kind of person. It's like midget and
What did you just say?
and politically correct.
yeah, it's a politically correct way of saying midget is little person.
Right, height impaired.
Right. But they're not children.
Hope I'm not offending you.
I'm trying my hardest not to explode right now. This is so offensive to
I'm a
me and my
tornado
people.
of anger.
I'm seething with rage.
So how'd you still picking your mountain, Steph?
Well, Neri actually made it really easy on me.
While you guys were talking,
Yeah, while everyone's talking shit.
she was asking me, how would you narrow this down? Like, can you give me some self-imposed rules? And I said, well, if you're really having a hard time, because she has 8 on her list,
Right.
go with the theme songs you know the most.
Oh,
That's not a bad.
That's not bad.
And
Yeah.
immediately I was like, and done.
And
There you go.
And finished. Because there's some on there that I know like they deserve it and they should be on there. But odds are they will be on other people's.
Okay.
So not my problem. I hope. And I hope we didn't all think that, because then we will be sad.
well, no. I mean, I'll be okay.
Let's find out. Let's find
sounds
out.
like an hour and a half from now, Stephanie's problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And an hour and a half now, Stephanie's going to be like, I'm so sorry, Bob.
Why did I do that?
why did past Stephanie hate me?
I always do this.
And what'd you do, Dave?
Truthfully, I went with like the first things that came to my head. I did search up, 80s sitcoms. There were a couple that I was like, okay, so I can't use that. I was thrown off by a few of these, but I went with the ones that I am most familiar with. So these are the ones that I would purposefully look for the reruns. Be like, I want to watch this, or I had it on VHS or DVD or something, and like I went out of my way to watch these shows because they weren't airing when I was a kid. I was born in '87, so I found these on reruns.
Right. I think most of us, even you and I, are the oldest ones. I think.
I was born in 81, so
I'm 82.
Some of these I saw.
Yeah, I can tell you, like, hands down, my numbers 2, 3, and 4, like objectively, are not nearly as good as my number 1, but my number 1 was my favorite and still is. So, like, that's objectivity has nothing to do with this list.
It really does.
This is just like literally my favorites. You get it. You get the idea.
Right.
I'm gonna say samesies.
Okay.
I had my 1, 2, and 3 that I immediately put, and then I realized that my number 1 was as an adult. I realized how much that show was great. But growing up, the other shows that are on my list are the ones that I would watch religiously. Even though there's one on there that was definitely not directed towards me. But I fucking and I still watch it to this day, and I'll fall asleep to it sometimes when it's on TV because they still show reruns of it.
Yeah, that was the thing that made it tough for me on the list too, because like there's some things that immediately popped in my head, and then I'm like, revisiting that would probably be traumatic. Like I probably wouldn't be able to rewatch some of these shows in recent light, so they didn't make the list.
Right. There's one show that I'm assuming is going to make somebody's list that a later show trumped it for me and made me not like it as much.
I'm with you on that.
So lost.
Didn't make my list. Didn't make my list.
Okay.
Honorable mention, but didn't make my list.
Okay. What about you, Neri?
So fucking lost on what you guys are trying to hide.
Well, he says the honorable mention. Unless somebody says it on their mouth.
I'm kind of doing now, taking my own advice, because I had 7, and I'm just gonna whatever comes. Whatever.
Oh yeah, I had 13, by the way.
Yeah. I had 7. I had 7 that I was like, these are it, and so they're very tough for me. But I'm just gonna go with. I think my number 1 is kind of cemented on there. That was really the only one, and then after that, it was just kind of like,
Same.
let's see which ones I liked more as a kid. So
you're sticking to like Kid Eyes?
No, I'm saying which was because these are the episodes I've seen, the shows that I've seen more episodes of, and it just happened to be when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I haven't gone back to revisit any of these shows. That's not true. Okay.
There's one that I've gone back to.
Yeah,
revisit.
there's one. I'm looking at one now. All right, so, but for the most part, I'm just gonna go with my gut and be like, I'm not
That's
gonna
what
overthink
happened.
it.
It is what it is. Yeah.
There's no from these 7. There's no bad list and there's no good list for me.
Yeah.
There's no, so I can't do any wrong and I can't do any right. Like I'm always gonna leave somebody out and I'm always gonna include somebody that I like. So
Yeah.
it is what it is, man. So
All right.
Cool.
all right, number 4, Stephanie.
Okay, so some of my list timing wise probably gonna have arguments,
Okay.
but I feel like this one actually does straddle it.
What do you?
Here we go again.
There's no feeling.
Happened
There's
last
actual numbers.
Yeah.
There are numbers involved.
Math is...
Because
You know what you should have done?
it was an even split.
If it's an even split, you can put it into whatever
Yes.
decade you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Mork and Mindy.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel like Mork and Mindy should be on there.
Okay.
All right.
So yes, my number 4 is Mork and Mindy because Nanu Nanu.
Nanu, nanu.
What is the theme song?
No, see, I didn't go with that rule on that one. I just went on Robin Williams.
Oh, okay.
I just went on not doing Robin Williams. At that point, I was like, okay, catchphrase. I'm good with the catchphrase.
Oh, okay.
I'll live with the catchphrase for that one.
No, this isn't an even split. It had 3 years in the 80s. 80, 81, 82.
Yeah.
And it only had 78 and 79 in the 90s.
That's it. Yeah.
Math is
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not an even split at all.
Okay.
It's,
I haven't
it's
looked
an
at
80s
this.
show.
I didn't have much time to prepare.
You've had you act like I just told you this 15 minutes ago. I told you this like 3 hours ago now.
Oh,
Granted,
please. It was not. We were also hanging out for a good portion of that. Wait.
it's
I don't remember any of this.
yeah, it's 9:32 p.m. and I literally told you this at 7. So you've had 2.5 hours. It's been fine.
We've been
That's
hanging.
the Mork and Mindy theme song.
I don't remember this theme song at all, but I
No.
remember the show
I
quite
don't
well.
remember
Me
the
either.
show at
the
all.
things
I've
I
never
do
seen the
remember
show.
the things I do remember the
Yeah.
show
See
itself.
Mork and Mindy?
I've seen clips and I know the catchphrases and I know the blah, and I know it was done. It was introduced from Happy Days,
Yeah.
so I know that, and I have a vivid image of him in the red suit and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But I've never seen an episode of that show.
Yeah, that show was such a bonding show for me and my dad. I used to watch it with him all the time. So it is
And
very
only
that
number
too.
4, Jesus.
Well, because the
What,
other
you
ones,
Rocky's son?
fuck off. No, like it's not like my dad's dead. My dad was dead to be number 1.
Right.
Like,
So this list is gonna change one day.
oh, don't. He's lived forever.
I'm sorry.
He's
Did
gonna live
did I spoil
forever.
something for you? You were like,
He's gonna live forever. Stop it. No, yeah. So for me, yeah, Mork and Mindy, just because like it brought us Robin Williams, and like I feel like it deserves to be on the mountain for that alone.
That's a great. I mean, yeah.
He was him being so young. Like the comedy is so much more physical
Yeah.
than what
His
we
actual comedy,
tend to see later on in his career. Not that he wasn't
All
a
over
very
the place.
physical, right, all over the place sort of comedian, but it's got that energy, that really young energy that you see in him.
It's called Coke.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Coke was way better in the 70s.
Yeah,
Uncut. It was amazing.
yeah. Beginning 80s, yeah, fair. Yeah, that's my number 4. I don't really have much to say about it except like to me, Robin Williams alone kind of it makes it rewatchable for me.
Dave.
My number 4, I'm almost certain, is going to be tabled, and it's the Golden Girls.
Tabled.
Okay.
My number 4 is probably not going to be tabled. Maybe by Neri, but I doubt it. Is Head of the Class.
You call it an audible?
Just take it off.
No, that was one of the 7, and I was like, I'm just gonna, yeah. I love that fucking show.
Head of
Preach
the-
on, brother.
Dude, I don't remember that show.
Head of the Class. It was with.
I had 2 different teachers.
Yeah, well, because so it started with Henry Hessman. He was from WKRP. He was Dr. Johnny Fever on
Cincinnati.
which also counts for this.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
Counts for this. But
It was
Probably
86
gonna show
to
up.
91.
it was 86 to 91, and it was him for the first 4 seasons, and then for the final season, he left the show, and they brought in Billy Connolly,
Yeah.
the Scottish actor. But
Who's
it,
fantastic.
And this is one of the only things that Billy's ever done that he didn't die in.
is that true?
He dies in
Everything.
so many things.
He's like Sean Bean.
He's died in so many things.
Oh, I understand that
On Mark Maron's podcast. I don't know if you know. Mark Maron has some podcasts. I don't know.
Yeah, I listen. I don't know.
And it's a small local thing. Anyways, he,
Obama on.
he had Billy on, and Billy says that there are times where his kids were like didn't even want to go to movie premieres because they're like, "How quickly do you die?" That was the question that they would ask, like, "How quickly do you die in this one?" And they're like, "No." And they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna die in this one." So that's the thing. But that Head of the Class was the first thing I ever saw him in, and he was again fantastic. Sorry to take your.
No, you're good.
Pick.
I mean, it had a few notable people on the show as students. It takes place in a high school honors program, and the main character is the history teacher, and it takes place during that time, which is ironic enough that I wanted to become a history teacher.
So did I.
Yeah,
I went
that's
to
what
school for it.
And then Robin Givens is one of the students that she was one of the kids.
The
Rounds
kids,
was one of the kids.
the kids alternate all the time. They would alternate throughout the seasons.
And then
starting to jog my memory.
yeah, Short Round, the actor. Who played
There was a
Short
fat
Round
guy
one
who
of
was
them.
a class clown.
K. Kwan, or
yeah, he was one of the kids.
There was a fat guy that was a
I
class
have
clown.
to make
He
a
had his
copy of
last
that picture
dance
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just a really cool show, and like I remember watching it when I was younger, and I was like, man, these high school kids are really cool. Look at them all; they're smart, but they're hanging out. And I want to be I want a teacher like that because he's so laid back.
There was an Asian little girl that was like she was like super young.
Yeah, they had she was like the advanced student.
She was like the whole class was advanced.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like super
but
advanced.
she was like a child prodigy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had her like they had that aspect in the show where it was like a kid literally amongst a bunch of teenagers.
But that kid didn't rotate. It's just like other students rotated.
No, there was always a child. It's just that one was a girl, and then there was another one.
Brad Pitt was on an episode of it.
Huh.
Yeah, because look, that's like the guy he was referring to, and next to Brad Pitt.
Teacher.
He looks like Josh Peck.
No, the fat, yeah. The fat class clown. I was like, cool.
Well, here's the thing. The funny part about that guy is that he went on to do a bunch of Disney Channel shows until he got busted for child pornography, like last year or earlier this year.
Well, you know, not all
that guy.
not all of us are into that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, fat class clown. I'm like, I could relate to some things. I couldn't relate to everything he did. That's what I was trying to say.
You didn't let me finish.
Yeah, you didn't let me finish.
But yeah, I just really loved that show. I know that there's probably the argument there's a better sitcoms out there, but for me,
Not really.
that
That show was really good, man.
I really loved watching that show, and it was a smart, funny show. And growing up as a kid, I watched it. I was like 7 years old, and I was watching it, and I was getting it.
If you have to look that one up, I don't remember. Like,
That
there's
one's hard to
parts of what you were describing that started jogging my memory, but then I'm like, I feel like I've seen parodies of this.
I found that Hulu was best for rewatching a lot of these older TV shows.
I wonder if that's on there.
Well,
I don't know where.
IMDb will tell you where it's playing.
Oh,
right?
it does?
Doesn't it?
Doesn't matter. We don't get Hulu.
What?
Eh.
You don't get
Oh, no?
No.
Hulu? Oh, wow.
All right, well, that's my number 4.
That's a somber note. Why don't you guys get Hulu? I don't understand.
Going through this quickly. Jeez. Neri, you're number 4?
Number 3?
Hold on, give me a second.
I mean, the problem
we
is
did already?
it's
Okay,
there's going to
okay.
be some tables.
Yeah. Well, we've already
Yeah.
had one.
All right, so my number 4 is gonna be, man. What a fucking! How do I?
I know.
You son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
My number 4 is gonna be Who's the Boss?
Okay.
Okay.
Honorable mention.
How the fuck do you guys? I thought that for sure I was gonna be.
Nah, bro.
All
No, dog.
right. Who's the Boss is a fantastic show. Tony Danza, Alyssa Milano. That's my first TV crush was.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alyssa Milano. Yeah.
Not my first TV crush. Amy Jo Johnson was, but Alyssa Milano.
No,
Amy Jo
But
Johnson.
Alyssa
might have been
Milano was
my
before.
first.
Alyssa Milano, like that show, Who's the Boss was on the air before Power Rangers was.
Oh, so
Yeah.
then maybe no, she was my first crush.
Unless you went back to watch Who's the Boss and then at 13 go, oh, look at that 8-year-old Alyssa Milano.
Wow.
That was like.
Listen, stop projecting.
But yeah, Alyssa Milano was my. I remember watching her in Commando and being like,
Yeah.
I know that girl.
Naked?
That was my introduction to Alyssa Milano.
Yeah, but Who's the Boss was first, and then
Right, yeah.
and then I watched Commando. Actually, what year was Commando?
85.
Let me see.
Might have been around the same time. I think she was 13, maybe.
Who's the Boss was 84.
Okay,
So
yeah,
84 to
same-
92.
same age, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was the show was fantastic. The show was great. I love the show. Of the 4 shows, I would probably say, yeah, of my top 4, I would have to say.
When was the last time you rewatched it, though?
Probably like 10 years ago. It's probably been like 10 years.
And it wouldn't have been the whole thing either, right? Just a couple episodes.
I mean, I watch a lot.
Well, it was
I
easier
watch
to do
a
that
lot.
with TV back then. You just kind of tune in.
Pop in, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of. the
But
nature of it.
but yeah, I haven't. But I mean, it's really fucking good. I mean, they used to play it at Nick at Night like 10 years ago. That's where I would watch it, and I would watch like two or three episodes a night every night, and then do that. But it's been a while.
Classic Mona.
It's been a while. Man.
Mona was the best.
She was the best. There's an episode of Family Guy where the theme of the parade down whatever street, Spooner Street, is the theme was Who's the Boss?
Oh, I remember this.
And one of the episodes is Tony walks in on Mona while she's drying herself, and the shot that they use on the show is the shot from behind Mona where she's drying herself off, and then you see the door. So you see Mona in the front, and then you see Tony in the back walking in, and they kind of both freeze. And in the episode of Family Guy, they're like, "Oh, look at that! That's that's from episode blah blah blah." He's like, "Look at the way they got the liver spots just right," and all that stuff. And it's so fucking funny because as a kid, I remember thinking she must have like those discolorations. I didn't know they were called liver spots as a kid, but I was like, "Yeah, I get it." But it was fucking fantastic. But I love that. Like everything about that show is great. The will they, won't they between Tony and Angela was great. This is the show where I first learned that advertising marketing was a thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know because it came out when I was 5 years old. So yeah, I would say I would.
No, I'm saying like I'm wondering why you realized that then.
Because I remember that every so often there would be episodes where she was like, "My new client is a hot dog," and then they would try to come up with slogans, and I'm like, "Oh, I could come up with a fucking good one." And I remember thinking that as I'm watching the show, there would be some episodes where, like, for example, one episode where Tony became the spokesman for a soap. The soap made him itchy, and I remember it was like a cess kind of, like cess fully clean type of shit, but it wasn't cess, but it was something like that. And I remember
Irish Spring.
I remember thinking to myself, like, I could do that job. And then it wasn't until I was like 14 that I was like, I could, watching reruns, I could do that job. And my brother was like, that takes a college degree. I was like, no. Guess I can't do that. Whatever. But yeah, that's. I mean, Who's the Boss is great, and plus it's a great theme song. I don't know the theme song, but I remember the intro very well as far as the scene, the traveling from Brooklyn to Connecticut.
Yep.
In the van.
Yeah. See, every single time I try to bring up in my head the file for that song, all I hear is Charles in Charge instead. Okay. All right.
Was that the $6 Million Man running?
Yes. We could rebuild. Did the $6 Billion Man do well, better than
Bionic Woman? I don't think so. No, I think Bionic Woman
by pay standards
fared better.
Right. Well, Bionic Woman was cheaper.
Not saying I agree with it. Don't send hateful emails, three of you.
Yeah, we don't have female listeners. What are you talking about?
Your female listeners are also on your podcasts.
Yeah.
There's better ones.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying, but
that should be a mountain.
This is
theme songs.
These title cards are so 80s.
Yeah,
we did.
I love it.
Song. We did theme song pre
80s.
Pre 80s. We have to do a post.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we could just do one called 80s and 90s because that's all there is. Because they don't do theme songs anymore, man. All right, so that was mine.
Nice.
I like it.
Boss. I thought I was gonna be. I thought somebody else was gonna say it.
Well, you thought wrong, sucker.
There's too many options.
I agree. I concur.
I don't know if that's gonna happen a whole lot for us.
All right, so who's the boss? So number 4 is where Mork and Mindy, Golden Girls, Head of the Class. Who's the boss? All right, number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 is Three's Company.
Honorable mention for me.
Yeah.
It is an honorable mention for me because it fits just in the window of the umbrella. I mean, of the years.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. And that's why when I originally thought Three's Company, to me, I thought 70s.
Yeah, I always think more 70s.
But
yeah.
I always think more Suzanne Summers, which was only in the first season.
Who doesn't?
Which was only in the first season, and then
it gave us John Ritter.
But I'm saying John Ritter. So for me,
took
John.
It away.
Oh.
Sorry.
Me.
Too real.
Life. No, but for me, just a lot of it, Three's Company kind of goes in there with the way Mork and Mindy was. For me, John Ritter. Three's Company is just one of the ones I can rewatch and still find. Is
your mountain only based upon which comedians got their start in it?
This is where it stops. This is where it stops.
All right.
Here's the thing. This is just me shot in the dark statement, but I think that might be the first time that I found out what a gay person was.
With Three's Company?
Yeah, because remember, he was pretending to be gay to be in the apartment.
It wasn't when your friend touched you? That wasn't it?
Oh, that's just dark.
Wow.
That was how I found out.
That's how we didn't. Nobody else had a kid. Nobody else experimented with the word kid. Somebody else touched your pee-pee.
You were taking that somewhere else.
What do you think I was taking?
I don't know. You were talking.
I did. Yeah, that's how I found out. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
And you go, no, I don't like that.
No, I was molested by my best friend.
Oh, I wasn't molested.
Okay, this is why it gets dark.
There's consent. There's definitely consent. I might. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah.
This is just about
Yeah, I didn't know.
sitcoms. This is just about 80s sitcoms and John Ritter.
Was that a bike shop? Was there
Oh, it was the same kid.
was there a bicycle shop? Was there a bicycle shop?
Yeah, the Snapper Creek one, right?
You believe there was puppies in that van, didn't you?
I'm not an idiot. Show me the puppy first.
Wait, was it like that?
I'll get in the fucking van. Just show me the puppy first.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that sicko kid, that weird kid.
Yeah, I mean,
in like pre-K and kindergarten. who just
totally.
wants
I
to-
mean, not his fault. I'm sure it was done to him. You know, it was like
that's
that. That's
How
worse.
nonchalant did this motherfucker
Christ,
just
we
say
are
that?
now
It's
getting really.
worse.
What
Come and knock on our door.
See what you did,
Be
Jeff?
waiting for you. It's mine.
Three's Company 2.
So, but Don Knotts, you had Don Knotts in the show.
Don Knotts is fantastic.
Yes.
I've seen maybe 3 episodes of the show, if that. Yeah.
No.
Did you just pick that number? Get it?
Three's Company.
Yeah, well,
Three episodes?
Maybe I should do comedy. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe I should
Shit.
do comedy as a kid. So yeah.
You don't wanna
For
rush
me, like,
into
like I think it still holds up. Personally, I haven't rewatched it in the decade as well. Like I did rewatch it as a teenager a few times and stuff like that. But I'm ancient. So.
That was way over 10 years. You said as a teenager, that was way over a decade.
Wow.
This is true.
Dang.
No,
She's
no.
just really bad at math. She can't count, so I'm just trying to help her out. No, it's longer than a
you know
decade.
what? I'm just used to saying decade.
Yeah.
For everything.
Yeah.
I'm just used to it.
Did
And
you
I go
think?
back and
Do
I'm
you
like,
still feel like you graduated high school 10 years ago? I do, and it's been 19.
I'm just surprised you
Has it?
graduated high school.
Oh.
It's been 19 years.
I have not thought about it.
Yeah, it hit me. Last year, it hit me that the kids who were born, the kids that were graduating last year were not born when I graduated high school, and that was
Okay, I'm not there yet.
That was the first year that happened.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
My students are all born post 9/11.
That's weird to me.
Yeah.
To me, that people exist after.
Yeah,
that.
they didn't live in a world that 9/11
9/11 is history for them. It's not
Yeah, like to them, it's Pearl Harbor.
right. It may as well.
to them,
Yeah.
it's not memory. It's I read that in a book.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
be like, oh, I saw a movie once. And it's like, ooh.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
I like to show films after we read a novel, either to like accentuate some themes, or it'll be like
Or
an
to kill
adaptation,
some
or
time.
or to kill time.
Right.
And so oftentimes they'll ask me like, "How old is this movie?" And I'll say, "Oh, it's not that old. It came out in the 80s or the 90s." They're like, "Sure, that was 30, 40 years ago." Like, okay, so
You all
it's,
failed.
So it's old.
You all fucking
Yeah.
fail. How about that?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Do that
Oh, no.
math.
Yeah, I was having this. I was having this great conversation with my younger cousin who's here, her like the front door neighbor and her like friends now. So the front door neighbor was like hanging out at my parents' house, and then we started talking. She saw my Adidas. I saw they're wearing like crop tops and like all these things now, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I had those sweatpants. And then she's like, yeah, no, I love how like everything old is back, and I'm like, whoa. I had
We
that
were
out.
cool,
Calm
and now
down.
we're not.
Yeah, I'd be like, and then David and me are sitting there like crying. And then you have gray hair for real. It's not just
This is
fashion.
bullshit.
All right,
So Three's Company.
Three's Company.
Yeah.
You know what my introduction to Three's Company was? A movie called Stay Tuned.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, because John Ritter's in it, and he gets sucked into the satellite.
The satellite.
And
love that
and he
movie so
pops
much.
into
Yeah.
Coming out on
Three's
Blu-ray in
Company.
January.
Yeah, so excited.
Coming out on Blu-ray in January.
And so I was watching this movie with my dad, and he starts laughing hysterically. And I'm like, oh, I don't get it. He was like, that was where this actor got his start. Mm-hmm. And so that was my introduction.
Was
to
that pre?
It was like your introduction to a
No,
callback.
that's not pre. That's not pre Three's Company.
No. It's post
No,
to Three's
post-
Company.
Right.
But that's where
Yeah.
I was introduced to it.
Absolutely,
This
yeah.
was like
Correct.
early 90s.
Correct.
So like this was,
Yeah.
I was already cognizant of,
Yeah.
things.
Right.
So,
The things.
the things and the
So wait,
stuff.
when you were introduced to what gay was before we go back to that dark
'cause I think
place,
that's the first time. I think that might be the first time where that idea.
like the word came up.
Well, because I don't know if they ever said
Not
it.
even
They
bosom
implied
buddies.
it.
Not even bosom buddies. Didn't
But, well, because the thing is, Bosom Buddies got canceled before I was born.
all right.
and
It
this
was
show's
only for
good.
2 years.
But bosom buddies, I like bosom buddies, but bosom buddies wasn't actually gay. It was just
They were dressing up as men. Yeah,
they were dressing up as women.
to be in the apartment.
Right.
I mean, I saw it eventually, and I dug it. But that,
I've never actually seen it. So
yeah, but
Tom
I
Hanks,
think
man.
that might have been the first
fuck.
time.
Jeez.
Yeah,
You didn't know Bosom Buddies was Tom Hanks?
I have no idea. I've heard of the show plenty of times. Never done any research.
Tom Hanks, and then the guy who played the guy who took over Rick Moranis in
That's
Honey,
what I was
Honey-
thinking too.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
That's the only thing he's done.
No, is it?
It's Bosom Buddies and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids TV
Is it?
show.
Is that it?
I mean,
Yeah, see, like when I was a
I'm
kid-
sure he's done
yeah.
1,000 things, but you're like, all right, I don't fucking
Yeah.
remember. You know?
See, I'm sure you guys don't remember it like this, but like with Three's Company and stuff like that, like I, as a girl, don't remember when Susan Sarandon got replaced. Like to me, I was
Well, I
just like
wasn't born, so yeah, you're
No,
right.
obviously, but I'm saying like to you, you're like, oh, you think Three's Company, like only think Susan Sarandon from not Susan.
That's the
Susan
first thing
Summers.
I think of.
But for me, I'm just like, it's just blonde chick, replaceable, done.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I had the hots for Suzanne Summers.
I had the hots
I mean,
for
she's
all of
beautiful.
them.
I mean,
I had the hots for all of them, but I again,
Including John Ritter.
I only know about Three's Company from like TV history. Like whenever they talk about TV history,
Okay.
Three's Company comes up, and then so I know about the show. I just never sat down and watched the show. I've watched maybe 2 or 3 episodes tops,
Same. Yeah.
if that. So
Yeah, it was actually one of the ones I actually grew up watching. I feel like I think when I was younger, my attention span, I could not sit down and watch some of the more somber ones. Like I wasn't one to sit. Oh, okay. I would bring up ones that are probably going to be on other people's mountains. Like I couldn't actually sit down long enough to watch like Cheers or
which is
No, I actually like Taxi.
which is another reason why in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, when he used the example of Diane and Sam, I was like, I don't buy it. He was a kid at that fucking. He was a kid during the 80s when Cheers was on. I didn't buy it. I was like, when he was using
How
Diane
old
and
would he
Sam,
have been? How
he
old-
would have been 8 years old. You're not watching Cheers at 8 years old and then be able to
remembering
know.
Diane and Sam.
You know what? That's a fair point.
I said that when the movie came out, and
Yeah.
she literally goes, "I watched Cheers when I was that age." I was like,
I
"Oh,
did,
fuck me."
but I don't think I would have put it together, Diane and Sam, if it wasn't for pop culture post
Yeah,
exactly.
Cheers.
Yeah.
So the guy from Bosoms Up Buddies, he did Bosoms Up Buddies, did a bunch of shows, but there's one movie that he did that now makes more sense to me that he was in it.
What?
The movie Sorority Boys, the one that came out where those 3 guys pretend, the guy from Seventh Heaven, Michael Rosenbaum, they pretend to be girls to
Yeah.
and
Oh my
Harlan
god, I
Williams.
forgot about that.
They pretend to be dressed
you
as
should.
women
As you
to
should.
stay
Yeah.
in a sorority house for free.
oh,
like
so he's
Harlan
well
Williams.
versed.
He's in that movie, and he was a guy who
Because
dressed
they
up
didn't
like.
call back too.
Tom Hanks would not do that movie.
No, he would not. He
Typecasting.
was already Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
There was an award show where it was a TV, like it was like one of those Nick at Night award shows, and it was maybe within the last 5 years, and Tom Hanks was there for Bosom Buddies, like there was he was there, and then the other guy keeps trying to like interrupt, and he's like, hold on, give me a second, you'll get your chance, whatever. So it's like a whole skit, whatever, and so after Tom Hanks does his acceptance speech or whatever, they start the music, and it's like if there's nobody else, and then that was the whole thing. Yeah,
That's funny.
That's great.
So
Yeah,
Three's Company, you're number 3.
Nice.
Can you imagine being that guy?
That's
Just imagine your career,
Just
like
not Tom Hanks?
both of you, yeah, because both of you had this. Both of you co-starred in the same shit show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and one of you became the world's greatest actor, and then the other one is you. You know what I mean?
And the other one was in Sorority Boys.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
it's the same thing with Bill and Ted's Excellent. Like,
Yeah.
one of you
Fucking
is
Alex
fucking.
Winter.
One of you is Keanu
you,
Reeves,
Alex
and the
Winter.
other one is
is a
you know,
fuckhead.
is an
Sorry.
asshole
Why-
at Comic Con.
why-
Oh, it was a bad experience at a Comic Con.
Bad experience
what
at a Comic Con with that
happened?
dick face.
Yeah.
First of all, I get a Bill and Ted picture. Geekmore people have heard this 7 times. I don't care. I'm going to tell it to Steph. I had a picture of the famous picture of them coming out of the fucking phone booth. I pay money for him to sign it, and he signs it on Keanu's side. One. Then my best friend goes, "Hey, let's get a photo with him. We'll split it." I go, "All right, cool." So we pay for the photo. It's us and 2 other groups of people. 6 people. That's it, in the
That's
entire
messed
con
up.
paid to take pictures with him. The guys in front of us go, "Hey, can we do the guitar
Air guitar?
the air guitar?" And he goes, "You can do whatever you want. I'm going to stand right here."
Oh.
And I'm like, "Bitch, 6 people wanted a picture with you. Fuck off!" Like,
I feel
what
like
the
people are
fuck's
still
wrong-
acknowledging your existence
Yeah.
because of this one movie.
Yeah,
Can you?
You were the shitty one in Lost Boys. Fuck you.
Yeah, no, she's right.
Whoa.
Fucking guy.
Dawson's dad was amazing when I met him. he was awesome.
Yeah.
That's the only follow up
What?
I've
Is
ever
that
done.
the only
I was
one?
The only one
envious.
I've ever done.
I didn't know you were going to do it.
I've only been to one Comic-Con ever, and 1.5, and
Right.
and then
I've still
and-
yet to go to one.
and Dawson's Creek. Well, you come next 4th of July.
That's when we already booked our
we
hotel.
already
for
booked the
SuperCon.
hotels for SuperCon. It's in the beach. It's in
They've already
Miami.
announced Neil Adams and a bunch of other comic book people.
So,
Just saying, Dave.
just saying. If you come to celebrate the liberation from that country, you could.
Well,
you're
Why not? Yeah, but yeah.
yeah.
No, the other one.
But okay. So Dave's number.
My number 3 is another one that I think may be tabled, and it's Taxi.
Wait, hold on. Let me check again.
He just,
No one else has Taxi?
oh crap! I just looked at it and I
just
see
took it off.
Surfing Bird and I go, oh wait, that's not the right.
No,
list.
I literally had Taxi and I just took it off.
Okay, so
My honorable
I
mention.
love Taxi. This is a show I haven't seen probably, I'm going to say over 10 years, since the 10 years thing is obviously not working out. But it's one of those shows that stuck with me. All the characters were so completely ridiculous
Fucking
and
Laka.
outlandish. Laka
Fucking
is
Laka,
one of my
man.
favorite TV characters of all time. Knock knock. And his relationship with Simca just like makes it all the better. I didn't really go for like the crazy split personality thing that they did later on in the show. I love this idea of him just being like this weird foreigner, like
Yeah.
Fez.
Yeah.
On that 70s show is really just a ripoff of Laka, but
The Fez is funny though.
I think I don't know, man. I love
I
love
get.
Andy
I
Kaufman.
just don't get Annie Kaufman. I just don't get it. I'm one
I
of those.
love
I just
Andy
don't get it.
Kaufman.
I love the movie Man on the Moon. That was a fantastic movie.
But that's because you liked it because of Jim Carrey.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey. That's the movie that made him lose his fucking mind, dude. Like
Yeah.
legit. Like
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
watch a
He talks
there's a
about it.
documentary on Netflix.
Yeah, the Andy Kaufman one, I saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so I love Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman. I just don't think that he was funny. Like I watch old shit, and it's not like I'm impervious because I can't laugh at old shit. There's a lot of old movies or old TV shows that I do like to watch, old from the 70s and 60s. Gilligan's Island makes me laugh. Like I laugh
Yeah.
out
That's
loud
still
at
funny.
that. It's
Yeah.
still funny. I just don't get Andy Kaufman. I wish I did. He's kind of like the comedy version for me of what's his name? Ring of Fire guy. What's his name? What am I talking about? Musician.
Oh,
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
Oh.
I
Okay,
wish I
yeah.
loved Johnny Cash.
But-
I love the idea of Johnny Cash, the Man in Black, and that's a fucking cool ass.
and his
then-
following is rabid.
and yeah, and his family,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I want to be one of those. And I listen to his music. I'm like, I don't get it. I just don't. I'm not a fan.
Oh, it's
I like
sad.
like
I
three.
was
of-
actually just listening to Johnny Cash today.
I literally
Yeah.
like two, maybe I'm gonna say three to be safe, but I know I like two of his songs. One of them is not his, but it's his, which
Which
is
one?
Ring of Fire.
Oh, well, yeah.
So I'm like, okay. And then the other one was the and the other one was the song that they used in Logan.
oh yeah,
one I just-
Hurt.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Nine Inch Nails song.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Again.
Such a good
So I'm not like
Although according to Trent Reznor, it's not his song anymore.
exactly.
Oh, see, that's
he said
nice.
he said
Yeah.
it's a Johnny Cash song. He said
Yeah.
he did it way better than what he would have done. That he did.
Yeah, what's he gonna say? Fuck Johnny Cash. Like, what's that?
You just
It
did.
was
At that point, no, I didn't say that. I said I wish I did. I wish I liked Johnny Cash. I wish I liked Andy Cash. I just don't get it.
Now,
Yet again,
and I-
also picture, like I said, very impatient child. Freaking Latka. cracked me the fuck up. He grabbed my
as a
attention.
kid, Laka was my draw.
Yeah.
When I visited the show again, as much I still love Laka,
But it was everyone else.
Danny DeVito was it for
Yeah.
me. Him as Louis is like just one of the greatest TV characters of all time.
Yeah, there's
I
so many
think.
solid comedic actors.
Judd
on the
Hirsch was
show.
fantastic on there too. Carol Kane, we talked about Simca. I mean,
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson.
Give the man his props.
Reverend Jim, you got Christopher Lloyd. He's just so out there. So like nothing he
Yeah.
says makes sense, and then you find out one like random episode that he just ate one space cake one time as a student in Harvard, and that was it. The rest of his life was set for him, and he's just like this burnt out fucking lunatic who's just sit there. He's the janitor there, and
He's hanging out with a teenager, building a time machine. Fucking crazy, this guy.
But you're right. Danza's awesome on this too.
Yeah.
You know, to me, this is one of those shows that still holds up. And again, I haven't seen it in 10 or 15 years, but the last time I did see it, I was like, fuck, this is still funny. This is still really funny. and you have a cast that blew up after this, from Judd Hirsch to Danny DeVito, Christopher Lloyd. I mean, they all went on to Tony Danza. They all went on to become,
household names.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the show. I wish there was a way for me to binge it again, because I think I looked for it and I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't even think you can purchase it. Like, it's got to be DVDs, and I don't buy DVDs anymore. It takes up too much space. But yeah, I love
you
the
could
show.
use for your action figures.
That's right.
As I stare at a library full of pop vinyls.
Yeah.
Funko Pops everywhere.
So yeah, man, Taxi. I'm really surprised that no one else put this on their mountain.
To be honest, it was on my mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right before, like, nostalgia. Like, I just me, Mork and Mindy's really up there for me
Yeah.
in terms of, like, because Robin Williams, to me, is so epic. But,
Yeah.
like, Taxi is so strong for its cast.
Mm-hmm.
So strong. And I would class it above Cheers.
Oh yeah, I mean, I did. So.
No.
Okay,
All right.
moving on.
All right. My number 3 is a personal favorite of mine.
That's why it's on your list. As they all should be personal favorites of yours, because this is your list.
Number 3.
You're right. 1984 to 1992, and it's Night Court.
That's one of the ones that got taken out, man.
Oh,
Me
yeah?
and you, we could have had the same
Bro.
mountain. I'm telling you, your 4 and 3 were 2 of the 3 that got cut from my list. So
I
fucking love Night
still
Court.
watch Night Court today when it's on TV, because I still find it on TV sporadically.
I didn't know it ran for that long.
Yeah.
As a kid, I watched it a lot, but when I went back to do this list, I was like, 84 to 92.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's a long fucking time, dude.
And it was just it was such. I just loved the show. The idea that it was
Yeah.
in the courtroom. Harry was like the fucking coolest judge in the world. I was like, man, if I get arrested, I want to fucking be in front of Harry. It didn't happen, but I would have loved to have been in front of Harry.
You wanna know a cool behind the scenes story? Harry is a comedian.
Yeah.
He's stand up, and he was touring a lot throughout that time before he got the show. And a guy that I worked with not too long ago used to travel with him all the time. They were just like comedians on the road. They were seats all the time. And when he started to write about to get the show, he was like bubbling, about to get that next level. And he hated it. He was like, he's like, dude, I just want to, he's like, the moment I get a TV show, I'm just going to do my 5 years, whatever, and get the fuck out. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, because he just hated the road, being on the road so long. And then he got the TV show. And then after the TV show, he never went on the road again.
So he did what he said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He got all his money and just did. But I thought that was a cool story. I'm like, oh shit, that's fucking cool, man.
No, that's really no. And then you have the fucking cast of characters like Bull as the fucking
Bull
the
was
security.
so great.
Yes.
That when I saw it, what else was he in that was a scary movie? He was in a scary movie.
Yeah. Richard Mull.
Was that Poltergeist? What was he in?
I'll look right now.
I saw later on, after watching Night Court for so long, as a kid, I saw Richard Mole in something else, but it was like a
House.
Was it?
He was in House. He was in.
Yes. And I remember watching,
Which is in the family shirt. It's fantastic.
watching the movie, and I was just like, "That's not Bull." Like I was like, "That's not Bull. Bull's friendly and nice. This guy's scary."
He was also in Sorority Party Massacre.
Was he in Sorority Girls? Because
That'd be
that would
funny.
be amazing.
Oh, if he was full circle. But then you had him. You had Dan, the fucking prosecuting attorney.
Great.
That
John
was a
Leguizamo
woman. John Larroquette.
Larroquette. There you go.
Close. Then
so
I
good.
don't remember her name. The other bailiff. Well, Diane. No,
Diane's
I had
a
a
lawyer.
crush on Diane.
Yeah.
Diane. But the other bailiff, the black girl, the black lady.
Fuck, I forgot her name. She was
But
great.
she was
too.
great. Like the thing is, you had the cat, and then you had like the little old lady. that worked
Yeah,
there, too.
she passed away during the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why they changed her. Yeah,
But it
the
was.
show went through like a couple different bailiffs, and that's how you could tell
It was on for a long time.
It was on for a long
Yeah.
fucking time.
But it was just a fun show
Yeah, it
to
was
me. And then
great.
you had the cast of characters. Gilbert Godfrey went through the show at one point.
Andy-
Brett Spinner was on the show at one point. Like,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Like, it's just, you had a lot of these people, because since it was a court show, like, you could have all these people come in and do cameos
Right.
as people that just got arrested.
These oddball
you know.
characters, yeah.
And it was, I just thought it was a really fun show, and I really enjoyed.
And the theme song?
Roz. Her name was Roz.
There you go. That's what it was. Yes, And the theme song.
Oh no, it was Christine was the other attorney.
Oh, what did I say? Diane? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Christine. But the theme song to Night Court was the shit. Do you guys remember that? You don't remember?
No, this is one that I did not see.
I never saw.
You never watched Night Court?
I saw a
once,
handful
ever.
of episodes. Yeah, I do remember this. It's exactly what it needs to be.
And the thing is that he was a musician, Harry. So it played off of that. Like he was a jazz musician too. So like they
And a
played with it.
magician.
And a magician.
And he's actually a magician in real life.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, in real life, he's
That's true. He did do a lot of magic tricks on the show.
Not only that, but he is. Remember when the masked magician was doing his little runs where he was showing people how to do the tricks. Harry was the one that hosted the show where they calling him out, saying that they knew exactly who the magician was.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. So my number 3 is Night Court. If you haven't seen it, I highly
My
recommend
parents were really into this show. So like the extent of my knowledge of it is from staying up late as a kid to watch this with them.
You never saw the show, Steph?
I've never ever in my life,
You never heard of it?
like, in passing, in like a list kind of way, and people
Right.
being like, "Oh,
Night
Night
Court's
Court," like
fantastic.
sure,
Night Court's
and like the
fantastic.
jingle,
Yeah.
like I know the jingle,
Okay.
but yet again, it's just one of those shows that has like a
When Bill
Despistado, like young, like look at the shiny thing, like young kid. I was not gonna sit there and be like, that law makes sense. Like,
I object.
I object.
when Bill Clinton was on Family Guy, when he was playing the sax, that's the theme song that he played on the sax.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, like, I weirdly enough get a lot of the references to it. It's just one of the, like, one of the shows that people bring it up so much that you understand some of the references that get brought up. You just also are like, oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
You should watch it. It's great. It's
It's
fantastic.
a cool show. If you can
fantastic.
if you can find it, it's
I think that one is on
Find
Hulu.
it.
well if it
It
is.
doesn't get Hulu.
That's right.
Well, good luck.
I like the fact that he's very manufactured.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
That's a correct statement.
I'll bring up Hulu at least another time or two.
Yeah.
So, Neri, what's your number 4 or 3? Sorry.
My number 3 is Different Strokes. Wow.
I
Nobody.
like
Guys,
the
there
show.
are
I do
so-
like
That
the show.
is crazy.
There are so many options that it's going to be really hard for us to have too many tables.
Don't take
I'd
this
be
as me not
surprised
liking the show.
If
I
Neri
do.
doesn't have the same
Yeah.
number 1 I do.
I doubt that we're gonna have the same number 1.
Really?
Yeah. So this is number. Yeah.
I'm the only one that has that as number 1. I'm going to be
Different Strokes. I mean, what can I say,
best
man?
theme song, one of the best theme songs ever.
One of the best theme songs ever. It made nobody's career.
It killed off 2 of the
Yeah, I mean, the guy was off. What the guy that played Mr. To the beat
This
is
is a
just
great theme
one
song.
drum.
What
Might be right for you, might not be right for some.
A man is born,
He's a man of means.
then
Along comes two.
They got nothing but the dreams.
Different strokes.
I'll just keep singing it.
Through the world. Everybody's got.
What year was this? This was 82?
I wrote that on my list. Hold on. The year was 78 through 86.
Okay.
So
I was gonna say because that theme song's got like a 70s vibe to it, which makes sense now.
78 through 86. But I just love that show, and that's how
it's a
so
great
many
show.
episodes. I didn't know it ran for that long either. Again,
And
as a
it had
kid, you
some-
don't really put into.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
it's in syndication. By the time you're watching it, it's always on. It's just it's always there.
yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just always on. It was always on. I even like the later seasons where Mr. German got married. First of all, Mr. German, awful father, horrific father, right? The guy, he brings up two drug addicts,
Yeah, a crackhead.
and then R.I.P. What's his name? But I even like the
There's a common denominator here.
yeah the latest. I saw the latest. Even the later seasons where he got married and they introduced a white kid. What's his name? Wesley? Was it Wesley?
No, it was Sam.
Sam.
And you know
Because
who
Wesley
that-
was the friend.
And you know who Sam grew up to be, right?
Who?
He had a stellar career after that. He was Bobby Butnick in Salute Your Shorts.
And the show, I don't know.
And what?
I don't know. Salute Your Shorts. We've talked about this before.
Just like it still doesn't hurt less hearing it again.
I didn't watch Temple, whatever the fuck. Temple Run. I didn't watch.
Temple. Fuck yourself.
I didn't watch that show either.
What were you watching?
Not Nickelodeon.
Sadness.
I was watching Disney probably. Not
I was a
Nickelodeon.
Disney kid too, and I still knew these.
But you were Disney and Nickelodeon kid. I didn't. Nickelodeon wasn't a thing for me.
You might know him as
I was like
John
90% Cartoon
as
Network.
John Connor's friend.
Yeah. No, I know.
Okay.
I know the face. I know. The face.
Okay.
That's what I thought you were gonna go with. I thought you, but you were you were so hyped up about it. I'm
for
like,
Bobby Butnick.
to you.
Hey man, I think I saw that kid you were looking for. Hey,
But
Is that your mom?
but yeah, and it's funny because his picture on IMDb is still him as a kid.
because that's the
That's
only way you
fantastic.
recognize him.
It's seriously still him as a little kid. Yeah.
That's sad.
It says born in 1975, but here's his photo.
Yeah, but yeah. So the later seasons where they brought Sam in, they started getting real serious. Like he got kidnapped.
Oh.
Sam got kidnapped for a whole 4-episode arc. It was
wow.
yeah.
That's like a long time in TV.
land.
Like,
Maybe it was 3 episodes. Who knows? But it was definitely more than
It's a
one.
month?
It was It was definitely more than. It was one of those like, whoa, what are they gonna do? Is Sam gonna be okay? And they would show Sam. And then they. I remember they finally found him because they were looking for him in the woods in a cabin, and they went to a general store, and he happened to be in the bathroom or whatever. And then they kind of just missed him. Where they asked a guy who kidnapped him, "Hey, have you seen this kid?" And he's like, "No. I hope you find him." And then I was like, "But but it was so not sitcom-y. It was like this is a time in the 80s and 90s where there were like that very special episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I love a very special episode.
I don't like very special episodes.
Do you not remember the episode where Gary Coleman
Dudley got touched at the bicycle shop.
Yeah.
That's the joke I was trying to make earlier, that this guy took very, very differently and we took it in a different
'Cause he was
direction.
living it.
And I was like, yeah, he got touched at at a bicycle shop. And he's like, no, my friend molested him. Like, oh, fuck, I was
There goes
joking.
that joke.
yeah.
But yeah, no, this guy tried to he molested his friend.
Molested Dudley.
Yeah, and tried to molest him.
They were taking pictures like, oh, take off your
Yeah,
shirt, show
take off your
muscles
shirt.
and blah, blah, and that stuff there.
Yeah.
Finding the right balance between the comedy and the drama.
I mean, it was hilarious because the kid had no muscles, and that's why it was funny. I was like, it's hilarious.
Classic body.
He's making him take off his shirt, but he has.
And
Yeah.
another thing that this show did was Mrs. Garrett
Mrs. Garrett.
for Facts later on Facts of Life.
She left the show. She was the maid. She was the first maid, and she left the show to start her own spin-off, which is Facts of Life. And it was originally called something else, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was called
The
Miss
Truth
Garrett's
Hurts.
Place or something like that.
Yeah, I have no.
Or was that the end? I think it was Facts of Life first, and then when they all grew up, it was called Miss Garrett's Place.
I'll check right
and
now.
when she did like it was like it was the same basic show, but some people didn't want to come back, so then it took place where she owned a cookie shop or bakery or some shit. I don't remember. Something along those lines. But it's kind of like if you follow that lineage from different strokes, you could kind of follow it.
happens not infrequently.
Not back in the day.
But do you think like shows nowadays could pull that off that well?
Well, they
tried
tried to.
with Joey, but
Well,
yeah.
they tried to do it with The Office. The Office had a show, had one episode with Dwight where he ran the Beat Shoot. The
shoe farm.
the shoe farm hotel, and that was supposed to be the backdoor pilot to his own show.
Yeah.
And it didn't pan out. They were like, no. I'm glad it didn't, because I was like, that doesn't seem like it has legs.
Yeah, no, I was not excited about that at all.
Yeah.
He only works in those fish out of water scenarios.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He can't be that guy.
Right.
He's a great number 2.
Right.
He's a great.
I mean, that's kind of what the show
yeah, he's a
showed.
great assistant to the
Yeah.
main TV star. You can't be.
It's funny.
It's a layered
You should
joke.
consider humor.
Well, let's not rush into anything. So yeah, I love Different Strokes. It was great. I remember when Kimberly got amnesia, and then Mr. Drummond got amnesia. he had amnesia.
You're right.
He had amnesia, and then he remembered Kimberly first, and then they felt
'Cause of the
like.
meth.
See, this makes sense that it's higher up on your list because you are being able to rattle off just storyline.
Yeah,
after
and then
storyline.
there were so many as a kid that I was like, oh my god, this is like I just love this fucking show. Like there's so many episodes.
Whose list was this right now? Was this you? Was this him?
This is my list.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I fucking love this. Like, there's so many episodes. I remember there was one episode where what's his name? I can't remember this guy's the brother.
Todd Bridges.
Yeah, but his character. What's his character's name?
Willis.
Duh.
I mean,
yeah. What you talking about? Yeah, I get it. All right, my bad. Sorry. So Willis.
I think it was Bob.
Willis is old enough to remember his parents. Their parents that died, right? And he was really good at remembering things like every year that the Yankees won, or every manager that the Yankees ever had, except for 1978, which was a year that his dad died.
No.
But he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that so he's rattling off all these things, and then the tutor, which is the cool tutor, who's like, "Hey man, I'm just like you. Let me sit down because I'm gonna sit down with the chair backwards to show you that I'm one of you guys."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm wearing a jean vest jacket to show you that I'm cool from the streets, but I'm also a tutor, man." And then so that guy, he was rattling off all the managers that the Yankees had, and he's like, "All right, Slick, that was real cool, but you missed 1978." And it just happened to be that he was having trouble in school because for some reason there was a mental gap. He was blocking out that entire year. And yeah, and it wasn't even a special episode. That was just one of those episodes where I was like, "Oh man, that's so cool." I'm pretty sure, I don't know what year it was, but I'm pretty sure I got the year right on that one. Anyways, that's where I learned that New York was bought from the Indians, from different strokes. Manhattan, the island of Manhattan was bought from Native Americans.
The Algonquin Indians.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
Do
learned
you
that
remember that from the TV show?
Yeah, absolutely.
TV used to be fun and educational.
It's still fun and educational. What? Have you seen The Biggest Loser? But yeah, so I just love this fucking show. I love so many things about it. You want to talk about catchphrases? That might be the biggest catchphrase
Yeah, we're
of
just
all
talking
time.
about Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not familiar.
Oh yeah.
Nope. Just ring a bell.
That doesn't.
Sorry.
So,
I'm aware.
but I love everything about that show. And it hurt me. That was one of those shows where when everything in real life started falling apart for these guys, I was old enough to be like, "Oh no, that's one of my." I don't want to say a hero, but fuck, I liked you a lot.
Yeah, I really want you to not stop.
Yeah, I don't.
Shouldn't do that.
More drugs, huh? All right.
Oh, we're doing that.
All right. Somebody didn't. Oh, they had Nancy Reagan as a guest
Really?
in one of the episodes
That's
as Nancy Reagan. She was the vice president. She was the president's wife.
Remember, it was a white
and she
person's
was
home.
when they started doing. it's when they started the DARE program, and she was a huge advocate for the war on drugs. And she was in that episode
How did that
where
turn
she
out?
was talking about saying no to drugs, and it was ironic because years later I was like, Nancy Reagan told you no, Willis, and she still went and did it. Like it was. Yeah, it's fucking great.
If you do it, even when the first lady tells you not to.
Yeah.
In your face.
Yeah.
Well, when different first ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
It was a different time.
Different time when first ladies didn't appear naked in Playboys.
Oh.
Go ahead.
You want to recap the number threes?
Number threes are Three's Company, Three's Taxis, Three Night Courts. No, I'm kidding. Three's Company, Taxi, Night Court, and Different Strokes. So
This is gonna be very complicated, Mountain.
number
We're
2.
gonna go through the same thing at the end when we're making the final Mountain to be like, I don't know.
Well, you just pick your number 1.
I guess.
You gave us that rule, by the way.
That's
I
not a
did.
bad rule.
Yeah. Whenever there's too much fights, when all the picks are different, we did a music episode, and when all the picks
Oh,
are
yeah.
different,
Well, we already know
we all
that
just go with
there's-
number ones.
We already know there's one repeat.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, serious.
All right.
All right,
So
what's your number 2?
my number 2 is A Different World because it did start in the 80s. It was a spin-off of a different show,
But
and
the
it's
majority
an
of the-
even split. And it's an
Hold
even
on, 'cause
split.
she said even
Yeah.
split last time, and
Yes.
the math was
no,
off.
because each season premieres as an even split. 3 of the seasons premiere in the 80s. 3 of the seasons premiere in the 90s.
Can somebody?
And then the
with a
ratings
calculator,
weren't,
can
and the
somebody with a
ratings
calculator?
weren't as high.
Trust
towards
but
the tail
verify.
end.
It's a different world.
Go to Wikipedia and see the premiere dates.
1987 to 93.
87, 88,
89.
89, 90. What? 87 to 87, 88, 89.
Then you have 90, 91, 92, 93.
But
That's 4
93 it
years.
ended. It didn't premiere 93.
What are you talking about?
I mean, the season didn't premiere 93. The season premiered. It had ended for the season that premiered in 92.
Okay, if you want to do like significant math, it premiered in September of 87
Look at the season.
to July of
I don't understand why
1993.
it's so difficult for her, Dave. It's
Neither Stephanie knows how to do math. What are the odds?
don't ask
Very
them.
good.
Don't ask them.
Very good.
Don't ask them that.
That's so many guess stars.
The odds are 11-4.
First aired 87, 88, 89, and then 90, 91, 92.
Yes, but it ran into 93.
But it ran into 93.
But
It's not about when. It's not about when it debuted. It's how
The
long did it
final
run.
episode
I'm saying-
aired July 9, 1993.
It's,
But it premiered.
But it's not about when it premiered. It's about how many seasons. How many? Not when did it start. It's when.
I say it's an even split. I say it's an even split, and that last season was shit.
That last season.
you can't erase the season.
You can when you look
Trust
at the
me,
ratings. Look
Parks
at
and
the
Recs wants
Oh
it.
well, you do
Look
make
at the
you
Nielsen
do
ranking.
make a point.
Like
yeah.
no one was watching it. It just held on for another season. When freaking Whitley and Dwayne got married, no one
I
kept
love that season. First of all, that wedding was the shit.
You fucking would.
Yes, it
That
was.
wedding
but
was
you
the
didn't
shit.
keep watching
that
for that
wedding.
long
Did you see that
afterwards.
wedding?
I watched all of A Different World.
That wedding was the shit, right? When he was like,
Yeah.
"Fucking baby, please." And she
It was
like-
made for
and she
me.
goes,
Hello.
"Yes," and she was like, "Yes," and then he was like, the priest goes, "But to who?" Oh, and then she turned around and fucking said yes to Dwayne Wade. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wayne.
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Cleophas Wayne. I still remember.
I think this is a show that actually genuinely is an even split between the 80s and the 90s.
Oh, no,
Down
but
to style.
I understand that you think that, but there's actual math and numbers that are factual.
This is like that you don't live in Australia, you live in a plot of land in the Amazon
Yeah.
in South
Then
America.
I should be getting paid more.
What does that have to do
I don't
with
know.
the poor math to the
Steph, I love you.
You could just tell her she's
and
getting
I
paid
love
more.
the show, but there's no like.
just let her let
just-
it go.
go
Just
on.
let it go.
I don't want
Let
it.
it
All right,
go.
man, whatever, man. It's not the
A
justice.
different world.
To be honest, if I don't have a
ahead.
different world, I'm just sticking taxi in there.
All right, go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead.
yes!
No.
No, it doesn't count.
No.
Damn it!
Go ahead.
I tried.
Speak your different world math logic.
I think it genuinely is an even split.
The fact
my
that you
God.
honestly believe that is amazes me. It's
I
cute.
want you
It's
to. I
adorable.
want you to take a second look. Lift up your sunglasses.
The flip.
And keep dress your glasses. Keep dress your glasses and
your
flip to the
glasses.
sunglass
Oh,
bar.
Dwayne.
Sinbad was on that show. So
Ron
amazing.
That's very 80s.
Ron Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that show. I love that show.
No,
Yeah,
And that
it is
show
good.
was
Yeah,
also
yeah, yeah.
influential.
quality of the show. I'm
Yeah.
not arguing.
It's
that
it's
at all.
not.
Dean Cain was in an episode where
Yeah.
he was a racist football player.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He's got
that's
that
changed
look.
things for me.
Well,
He's got that look.
it's
White?
He's super.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caucasian.
Yeah.
No offense, babe. No offense.
We love you, Dave. But
No, we
if
love
somebody,
you.
if somebody
We
later on goes,
didn't say you were racist.
no, but if later on somebody goes, hey, you know that guy that Steph was dating for a long time? Yeah, he turned out to be racist. We'd be like, oh fuck.
Oh.
All right, and then you just move on. Like it wouldn't be like, no. You'd be like, oh. All right. Well, that happened. So
Oh, and then
different
Vernon, the cafeteria guy.
I just also
very
noticed
good.
that right now
Awesome.
with everyone arguing, Dave going, hey, and all of us turning to him. That's the first time Dave's ever had all the Latinos look at him at once and be like, what?
Orale. Jada Pinkett.
Yep.
There was Lena.
Towards the end of that, she's
Colonel Brad Taylor. He was the
guy that's in CSI. The guy that was in the
I
original
don't even have to
CSI
defend it.
was in that show too. He was
Yeah?
the guy with the dreads.
Oh,
He's the black guy in a
I
different
always
role.
forget.
Oh,
I always
thanks.
Yeah.
forget his name.
that narrows it
Thanks.
down. Hold on. Now that you said it that way, I can find him. Marissa Tomei was on it. Oh, Gary Durden.
Yeah.
He was Shaza. Shaza Zulu.
Right. He ended up being with what's her name?
With Jada Pinkett.
Yep.
Wasn't it?
No, it was the.
Wasn't it Jada Pinkett?
No, it was the other chick. No.
Charmaine?
Yeah, I think so.
I kept trying to think about why it is that I remembered more about A Different World than the other ones on my list, and it's because it's a '90s show.
Yes.
It's not.
It makes
It
sense.
is a clear cut both. It is so influenced by the late 80s.
Oh, that's what we're going with now. Influence.
Here we go.
We went from Nielsen ratings to influence.
Look, I'm not about to put like freaking Miami Vice on.
I don't care. It's fine. It's your show. It's your list. You do you, boo.
There was a crossover. Well, because it was a crossover.
Oh, it's a spinoff.
Right, the spinoff, but the characters, because Claire Huxtable did make an appearance.
Well, they actually made an appearance also on the Cosby Show as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
But yeah, they all lived in the same universe. It was a clear. Yeah, like I was saying, like I'm not
Same
putting.
black
Yeah,
universe.
they lived in
I'm
the same
not.
universe in the 80s.
I
It
can
was
still.
Co-
But I'm saying like exactly.
It was Cosby.
Yeah.
It was a different world. It was Wakanda. They were all in the same in the same universe. Oh, yeah.
That'd be a lovely universe.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like I can't
Sinbad
put
forever.
one of the other ones on my list. Like for me, I liked the progression of it. I do actually genuinely admit that I liked A Different World more when the Huxtables actually weren't that much of a part of it.
Well, they
Like,
were
when
only a
this
part
is
of it a
put
couple
out.
episodes. There was like the introduction.
You liked
Just
everything
setting
else
it
but
up.
the
Yeah,
two
just
episodes.
setting it up, yeah.
Pretty much. Well, no, because like the daughter, I always forget her name. The daughter,
Lisa Bonet?
Lisa Bonet's pretty. No, but her
Mrs.
actual,
Momoa?
her actual, yes, the really very pretty Bonet. What is her actual character's name? I always forget.
Denise?
Denise. Yes.
Huxtable, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like Denise, I always liked Denise and everything. Okay, but like she wasn't my favorite part
as
of the
an
show.
actress, she was kind of aloof. That's why they gave her own show, because she had star power, but
Mm-hmm.
she kind of was phoning it in on the Cosby Show. So they were like, but she had star power.
Yeah.
And so then they gave her the show, and then one of her things was like, I just don't want to do with the Cosby Show. So
I remember thinking,
Yeah.
like, as a kid, I remember thinking, like, she is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I didn't think that then.
Really?
Not then.
Beautiful.
Now I
Yeah.
think she's beautiful. I acknowledge she's beautiful now. It wasn't my
And
cup
she
of tea
just
then.
decided to stop aging.
I used to think Jasmine Guy was hot, and I mean that's clearly not the thing now. I would not. I don't believe that now. Jasmine Guy,
Whitley, bro.
Whitney.
Whitley.
Oh yeah.
Whitney.
Whitley.
Right.
Gilbert.
Yeah, I used to think she was hot, but then that's clearly media influencing me. Like she's supposed to be the hot one. So
She's
I'm-
more glamorous.
So I thought that she was hot, and then as I got older, I was like, no, I don't like that. That's not my type at all.
Yeah, it's definitely Denise. Like Denise is definitely.
Not really. None of them. They were both too thin for me. For
Well,
my
she
taste
was thin,
now,
yeah.
they're both very thin. Beautiful face, both of them. Especially Lisa Bonet has an
I like
amazing
Charmaine.
face, but I like curves. So Rubenesque.
What TV shows actually
Nice
had
word.
women with like that kind of body type?
Designing women. Honorable mention. Just saying.
I was expecting you to table yourself.
Table, we'll talk about designing women.
Well, we did talk about the maid in Different Strokes, so
Yeah.
I mean, there's that.
That's true. Mrs. Garrett, yeah, she had some curves to her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a mountain.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, so Different Stroke is your number 2, David?
My number
No,
2.
Different World.
Different
Or
World.
Different World,
yeah.
sorry.
They'll fight about it.
But this may be the show that I think ran for the longest time in the 80s.
MASH. No,
The 80s?
That 80s show.
Did I show you my list before the show? No, it's Newhart.
Yes, I actually see. Remember how before I was saying that I couldn't pay attention to many things? For some reason, Bob Newhart always got me.
Always.
Like,
and
as a little
I
kid.
know what it is for me. It's his voice. There's something about his voice that
yeah.
immediately draws me to the television, because I was really young when the show was on. I caught most of it on reruns. My grandfather is a huge Bob Newhart fan, and put a gun to my head, and I'll tell you that the Bob Newhart show is better than Newhart.
doesn't everybody say that though? Isn't
Yeah.
isn't that a universal? I don't
Is
think-
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always assumed people preferred Newhart.
No, I think, and again, I didn't watch any of these shows, but I think from like
Newhart's
the way TV goes is like oh, he has another show called like it was like he was trying to recapture the same thing that the Bob
Right.
Newhart show had,
Well, Cosby did the same thing.
right? Which again, the second Cosby Show universally gets the
Right.
from like everybody acknowledges that it's like no, this is not the original.
I definitely remember more about Newhart than I do the Bob Newhart show. And
That's just timing,
It feels it's the timing, yeah, and it feels very 80s. Whereas like the Bob Newhart show feels decidedly 70s. Like there's something very 80s about this show. Like it premieres in 82, and you can always kind of make that argument that like the decade doesn't really kick in until about 3 or 4 years in, where like
that's what I'm saying about different worlds. So that's fair.
The fashion sense, the music, the stylings don't really change until 83.
Yeah.
Then it starts to feel more 80s. But to me, like these characters are
but they're also
so
still adults in the 80s. So I feel like sometimes it's different than when you're watching like a show with like teens in the 80s. Like you'll see that the style and the music and everything will reflect, and the stylings reflect more on like younger shows than like adult shows. Are they're dealing with like dialogues and situations and stuff like that. Like it's a little more universal.
And I think this show particularly appealed more to a younger audience than the Bob Newhart show did, because to me there's something that only this show and I think Parks and Rec have ever been able to get, is what I like to call the Springfield effect, which is where the people that inhabit this town are so incredibly outlandish. Like they would never exist in any world.
Right.
That's why I love Parks and Rec.
Right. Yeah. There's a magic about Parks and Rec. Like these characters, particularly the side characters.
Right.
They're so crazy. They're so out of this world. They're bonkers. But that's what makes the show.
Yeah.
You buy, and the more the show leans into this like ridiculous world that these even more ridiculous characters inhabit, the funnier it becomes.
Right.
It is like what made the original show great, which was the psychology about it, right? He was way too smart for everyone else, and he was always like that bummer, and like he bummed everyone out, and just seeing him try to interact with people like Frasier, right?
Yeah.
Seeing him interact with normal people, that's what this show did that the other one didn't, where like it took him out of like, okay, here's normal people, interact with them, here's crazy people,
Try to function around
him, and he's like this very level-headed writer who like just constantly loses his cool.
Yeah.
And seeing him have these like meltdowns as a kid was,
I think that's why it was easier for us to grab at that age.
Yeah.
Too. We could understand just being like, what?
right. And then of course what is maybe the greatest finale of all time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I remember the first time that I saw this, because I saw this and Bob Newhart at the same time because they were on reruns anyway.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with both the different shows, and I was old enough to understand that this show came first, this one came second. And seeing him wake up next to, like, I immediately recognized the set.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not his bedroom.
Yeah.
That's the other show, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I didn't, obviously use that language as a kid, but you see the set, you recognize it, but like nothing had ever been done like that before. Like even when I was watching this in like 93, 94, whenever I'm watching it in syndication, this was a totally new idea. Not just because I'm young and I'm not that used to ideas.
Before or after that?
What?
Because what's another show? I'm thinking about another show like it's like it was all dream kind of thing, or like
yeah.
Okay, well, it was a season though, right? It wasn't the whole thing.
No, wasn't that the finale? I think
was that the finale?
That was the finale. Yeah, that the whole last season had been a dream. Yeah,
yeah.
That they killed John Goodman and all of that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like a season's worth was a dream, whereas I think in Newhart the whole thing. He had been hit by a golf ball, and that's why the whole thing about the company buyout of and turning it into a golf course, like it all of a sudden makes sense. And then when you put it in the context of the original show, now you start to understand why these characters are so ridiculous and they're so outlandish, and why he constantly loses it because he doesn't feel like he needs to control his impulse the way that he does as a psychologist, right? He can just let loose and be that crazy person. Yeah.
And I think that that's something that the show did fantastically. I haven't seen it.
It also says a lot about him if those people just inhabit his brain.
Right. Yeah. So there's probably been like 10 or 15 years since I've seen a single episode of this show. But it's one of those shows that has always stuck with me, and Bob Newhart will always be one of those comedians that I hold near and dear to my heart, particularly because I grew up watching everything that he did.
His face just gets me, man.
Yeah.
Well, and him interacting with Don Rickles is like my favorite thing ever.
Him on what's his name call it? Big Bang Theory.
It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, he's great on the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
That way he comes back as a Jedi.
Yeah.
He's great.
See, I don't understand.
His character is like one of those like Bill Nye the Science Guy, TV science guy.
He was like Sheldon's idol.
Right. He was the influence for him to become a physicist in the first place.
His character dies during the show.
You meet him once or twice.
Yeah, you meet him
before
once
this,
or twice, maybe 3 times before, and then he a couple of seasons later he dies, but he comes back in the hologram form of a Jedi. Because to Sheldon, that's how he's dealing with death. Is you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I hate that show.
It started off so strong. Yeah.
Did it?
I think so. I think it did. I legitimately loved the first couple of seasons of that show.
I watched. My wife and I hated that show for a long time, and then we binged every episode up until like maybe 3 seasons ago, and we haven't. It's just life got in the way, but we did enjoy it when we binged it. We did enjoy it. It did take us a bit to get over a lot of things, but once we got into it, and it was good for a sitcom. But it's like what everybody makes fun of sitcoms for. It has everything.
Yeah, and I think it's gone on too long. There was this thing where like it just life got in the way, and I had been watching it since it had started airing. You know, as it was airing, and life got in the way. Maybe 2-3 seasons ago, and we just didn't keep up with the show, and I didn't feel anything.
Well, yeah, that's exactly
And I was like, oh, okay, so I guess it wasn't as good as I thought it was, because if it really was, I would go out of my way to finish watching the show. But he was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was fantastic on that show. So Newhart is my number 2.
All right. Real quick side note, just got a message here that on January 25th there is in Fort Lauderdale there will be a movie screening of Flash Gordon. The event is Flash Gordon and grilled cheese screening event.
Are they gonna use
2 things I love.
Yeah. He's speaking right to my heart, man. So January 25th in Fort Lauderdale. If you are in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area.
It won't
Flash.
be.
Cool.
Grilled cheese of the universe.
I saw Flash Gordon for the first time like 2 years ago.
Did you?
Remember? Well, no, you don't remember.
No, I don't remember.
But I texted you and I was like, I'm watching it for the first time, and we were having a conversation about it. And I was
That
like,
movie is so bad it's good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's bad. I go, oh, this is great. But
I genuinely enjoy that movie.
I do genuinely enjoy the movie. But I not when somebody goes, that movie sucks, I'd be like, I can see.
No, I see it.
I see
which is why I always say it's
Like,
so
I see
bad
your
it's
point.
good. Like it's cheesy. It's
I don't
campy,
think it's
but-
bad, but when somebody says it's bad, I'm like, hey man.
I see it.
Yeah, okay. Not gonna argue. Practical effects are-
I'm never gonna defend, whether that movie is good or not. Now, enjoyable. I fucking love that movie.
But I did see it after Ted. After the movie Ted.
That could probably do something for it.
So now I like it more because I'm like,
Was
oh, this
he at
guy's
the
fucking
con?
nuts. Not an Archon.
Not a year. The year before he was there, the Flash Gordon.
All right, so
My number 2.
Your number two, Jeff.
Is going to be tabled. It's Golden Girls.
Table.
I don't find Golden Girls really. The few
Well, you're not-
episodes I've seen were fucking so serious that I was like, how is this funny?
Did you come
Like,
across a special episode?
Well, save it.
Save it.
So my number 2 would be my number 1, except for the fact that my number 1 is legitimately one of the greatest TV shows of all time. But my number 2 has such a special place in my heart. My wife and I binged it maybe 7 years ago when before Sophie was born, before our daughter was born. So and I made her watch it, and she got into it, and she was like, "Oh, this is like," she had never heard of it. She never did. And to this day, I will put this in my mountain of sitcom intro songs of all time. Is Charles in Charge?
Honorable mention for me.
I love that fucking show.
Scott Baio, you
dreamboat.
dreamboat.
You dreamboat that then ends up being a fucking lunatic in real life. Whatever. I'm telling you, it hurts my feelings when I would see Scott Baio. I was such a fan of Charles in Charge that
Because of
when
Nicole Eggert,
when Scott Baio had that TV show on VH1 called Scott Baio, whatever it
Knows
was,
It All,
42 and pregnant, 42 and single, where he was trying to figure out if he wants to get married. I bought that show on iTunes. Bought it.
Oh my
Legit
God.
bought it. And I also bought the next season, which was Scott Bale's, whatever the age was, like one more year, like 43 and pregnant when him and his wife were expecting. And I fucking, like, I was such a fan of Charles in Charge that I became a fan of Scott Bale. And then when the last presidency, when the last election happened, he was such a fucking nut.
Yeah.
And he would go on such rants that I was like, I'm out, man. I can't do this anymore. My love for something 80s is not that deep.
Right.
Like, I can't even do that. So, yeah. Charles in Charge, fucking fantastic. The story of it going on for, I think, 1 or 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, then being canceled, and then going on a hiatus for like 3 or 4 years. And then they brought the show back. And then when they brought it back, it was with a whole different cast. But when they brought it back, the story was that they were switching, that the house was switching families. He had gone off to college, and the house was switching. I don't know what the fuck it was. They were switching. The house had been bought, and that first episode of that new season of that new series, it was kind of like they literally had the old actors that were playing the kids before, and then they had the new actors. So it was like handing off of the baton type of deal.
Right.
But it didn't miss a beat. I thought Buddy was great. Buddy
was a fucking amazing character.
Great. And my introduction to both Scott Baio and Buddy, which I don't know his real name, but it's Buddy, was from Zapped.
Willie Ames is his
Willie Ames, that's right. Is from Zapped. Willie Ames was also on a reality show on VH1 where he's trying to lose weight. And he was on a show with, if I'm not mistaken, with Rafi May. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that same season was Rafi May.
He was also in 8 is Enough. That's where he started before Charles in Charge.
Yeah, I never watched that show. But fucking Charles in Charge. And that song. Charles in Charge of our days and our nights. Anyways,
and Nicole Egger, I had the biggest crush.
Oh, yeah.
She was smoking hot.
Was?
Yeah.
I'm sure she still is.
Well, we don't know. Let's hold off. Some women age like bread and not wine.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Some people.
No, she's still
Some
hot.
people age like bread.
No, that was more of a reaction of like, that's painfully accurate.
Well, that's actually not my joke. That's
yeah.
Yeah,
She's still hot.
What year was that though? 'Cause that could be like 2008. So let's be fucking real. It's 2018. So that's not my joke. That's more like that's a take on Patrice O'Neal's joke where he says pussy ages like bread, not like wine. So it's kind of a take on his joke. Well, it is a take on his joke. So, but Charles in Charge, I thought was fantastic. Willie Ames played the perfect idiot, and all the girlfriends that Charles had were fucking smoking hot.
Yeah.
As it should be, because he was a dreamboat.
God.
I hadn't
did
seen,
think so back in the day.
I hadn't seen Nicole Eggert in many, many years. Probably since, was it Baywatch, right? Yeah, she was on Baywatch.
Yeah.
And I put on the old Super Mario Brothers cartoon show for Link
that's right.
recently.
That's
and
right.
she's on that first episode.
Yeah,
so I put it on for Link, and there's Nicole Eggert, and I was like, oh, hang on a second. I had to like turn over. I had to hide.
Oh shit!
Hide myself from my son.
Rue McCallaghan was in.
Was she?
She was on Charles in Charge.
Huh.
So was Christina Applegate, Meg Ryan.
Look, Egger was most recently a contestant on VH1's reality show Celebrity Fit Club, which was a show that Willie Ames was on. That was Celebrity Fit Club was one of the
Matthew Perry.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Matthew Perry had been on that.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll
there
get
you go.
caught into like fun fact trivia.
Yeah. So anyway, but anyways, Charles in Charge was a great fucking show. Man, that doesn't look great either.
What?
Well, that's 2017. Okay.
Who?
Is it?
Yes. How old is this person?
Yeah.
Probably
yeah.
good.
She was born in 72, so she's 46.
Yeah, looks great.
She looks good for 36.
Oh shit! With okay, I don't know how many people would get
38.
I know Christy would. She said she was born in 72, so 40.
40.
What?
No, wait.
She's
40.
46.
No,
That math doesn't add up.
I'm having Steph math
Yeah,
right
what
now.
are you
Sorry.
doing right now? It's 46. Are you counting the age that the Nielsen rating went down? Because that doesn't count. That year doesn't count.
You you agreed with me.
No. No.
I agreed on the aging thing where the episode gets shitter as it runs. So the heyday years were the earlier years.
But the heyday was the 80s, so you agreed it should go on my list.
That wasn't the parameters,
I'm
though.
talking about the math. If it's math, then I guess.
Oh, you turncoat! You turncoat!
The whole, if it's good in one era, it is that era, rather than.
Yeah, I think it was good in the 80s.
But that's not what you said. You said that there are three, that the years were split down the middle. That's what you...
They still are. They still do premiere.
That's not the way it works.
What I'm saying is, you're not right.
Okay.
Just call it fake news and move on.
All right, so Charles in charge of our days and our nights.
Just saw a Christmas. I just
wrongs
watched
and
a
our rights.
Christmas
Do you
movie
remember
the other day that had fake news as a joke in it. And that was amusing and painful all at once.
Do you remember the movie Summer School?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, you remember
The teacher that had the rad t-shirt in the
That
shirt,
dreamboat teacher?
and that shirt,
the-
the
and the-
Hawaiian.
and the dog.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, do you remember the two
With the
guys?
convertible?
The two, yeah,
of course.
The two guys that were like the horror movie guys, the blonde and it
Yeah.
was Chrissy's gonna kill me if she's listening.
She's not
from Rockula. Fuck, what's his name? But either way, the blonde guy was also on Charles in Charge. Apparently, he was had some roles in it. I'm gonna look up Rockula before Christy kills me.
Dean Cameron?
Dean Cameron.
There you go.
Do you feel like she's always there with you?
like gas. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, honey.
Christy
Love
in
you.
charge of your days and your nights.
All right, so Charles in Charge. All right, so what's the recap?
So the recap goes Different World with an asterisk, Newhart, Golden Girls, and Charles in Charge.
All right, so number one, I guess we can talk about it now for Dave. And,
honorable mentions.
oh, honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Yes.
There should be about 20 million honorable mentions.
Did
yeah.
you post this?
No.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so my
I
honorable
just
Did-
told
did we-
one of our panelists 3 hours ago.
You're
What
right.
makes you think I would
Did
have...
we last week, though? I feel like we did last week.
No.
Did we last week?
No, we just talked about it to death last week, so that's
Yeah.
why no. It wasn't posted.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Good.
honorable mentions.
Honorable.
Okay, so honorable mentions for me would have been Growing Pains.
Mm-hmm.
Family Ties for giving us Michael J. Fox.
Okay.
Family Ties is
Taxi.
still a great show.
Yeah.
They play that
Yeah.
on the ships every once in a while. They play the same 4 episodes. I'm like, hey, this is fucking good.
Yeah.
I still prefer Growing Pains over Family Ties.
Well, I mean, that's
Personally.
not apples to apples, but okay, sure.
Yeah, obviously I feel like family kind of.
Oh,
vibe
so anything with a
happens-
family? Anything with
No,
them?
family mostly happens within the house. Like I
The
don't
thing
know,
is,
like
Growing
had
Pains
the-
was
like-
general issues and growing pains of having kids.
Yeah.
Family Ties was more, we've got two hippie parents and conservative kids, and a really hardcore conservative kid, and dealing with that
fun.
difference.
Yeah.
Was-
fair.
yeah.
That's fair. But oh yeah, and then my other ones were for Taxi, and then an asterisk I put Cosby Show because I can't
That's
rewatch
what gets an
it
asterisk?
now.
Not the fact
Well,
that you
'cause I
missed
can't
math.
That's
I
but that's
can-
actually an 80s show.
That's a legit 80s show.
Yeah.
But I can't. I just
Okay.
can't.
Oh,
I
okay,
can't
that's a
rewatch
different-
it.
it's a whole
I
different
can't
animal.
rewatch it. But my whole
All right.
the asterisk is because honestly I can't revisit it. I can't rewatch it without being
Drink your
disgusted.
water.
It
Get
Drink.
it? Get it?
truthfully, that I can't knock you for that because I was really torn between the Golden Girls and the Cosby Show, and when I found myself thinking
not a
about
mountain.
both, I was like, I can look back on Golden Girls fondly, whereas
Yeah.
Whereas you could look back at one of them and fondle.
Good night, everybody.
And with that, the podcast is over.
Fuck, that was great.
so-
fuck, you should do comedy.
So the Cosby Show is relegated to honorable mention. Cheers, Blackadder, which we talked about previous to recording, and often not talked about.
So Faulty Towers landed in your.
It's 70s.
Yeah,
Oh.
70s. Yeah.
Well, if you only count the years that you want to count, I mean, if you take away the majority of the numbers and then you put in the years that you want and then twist and bend the numbers to your will, you 3, 2, 1, and
Right there.
all right.
So my
He's such an idiot.
so not Faulty Towers. And then
Yeah.
my last honorable mention is one that is very difficult to find unless you go to YouTube.
Okay.
And it lasted for 6 episodes and gave us one of the greatest slapstick comedies of all time, and it's Police Squad.
But when did the last one air?
That's unimportant. It's when the first one aired.
Oh,
Right.
Okay, because I thought,
Yeah.
one of those things.
I still think white math.
Daniel.
It's fine.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
know who doesn't think that? Math. If math was a sentient being, math would be shaking its head right now. Like, no,
Yeah.
no, that's not the way I work.
Math became a sentient being to shake its head.
Yeah, it was like, no,
Yeah.
that's not the way I work. That's what he's saying right now.
All right. I have Charles in Charge, Growing Pains, Who's the Boss, and then since I never listened to Near, I have 5. Mr. Belvedere,
Great show.
and I don't give a fuck because I love this show, Mama's Family.
Love that show. Why would you?
I've never seen it.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Never seen it.
You never seen Mama's Family?
It's fantastic. It's really
I
fantastic.
feel like you guys were watching one station that I just completely missed. Because half the things you guys mentioned, you're like, oh, such a good show. I'm like,
It's
what
fanta-
is this?
You've never seen Mr. Belvedere?
No.
Oh my!
Wow, it's fantastic. It was.
Well, Steph, you and I are the same age, right?
I believe so, yeah.
This was Mama's
Well, they're
Family.
5 years older than we are.
Oh, that makes
So
sense.
yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah, just rerun wise, like TV scheduling, stuff
Right.
like that. Yeah. It does.
I totally get it. But you were watching Taxi, which started in the 70s.
Nick at Night is
But
something.
it also ran for longer. It was in syndication for longer.
Nothing ran for longer than. What's the other one? Night Court from 84 to 92. She didn't watch that. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
I heard of
Well,
it.
Mama's Family
never
had
seen
like it had Vicki Lawrence was the
She
main
was so good.
character. She was Mama.
That was that. I felt like that was a Carol Burnett.
Well, Carol Burnett was on the show. It was a character I think that they did on the Carol Burnett show.
Yeah, but
Mama was a character.
But it just felt like I thought when I first started watching it because I was a kid. I didn't, and there was no internet where you could just look it up.
I thought it was Carol Burnett.
I thought it was Carol Burnett.
Same with me.
I thought I was watching a Carol Burnett show, and then it was not.
And then
What was it about, though?
it was just literally like a white rednecky kind of family.
Where the grandmother's like the patriarch or the family, and she don't take no
Matriarch.
shit. Yeah,
And the
Sorry.
the
numbers.
So it was like
And
Roseanne, but
Rue
funny.
McCallum was a regular character,
okay.
so another
tie-in.
appearance by her. And Betty White was on it.
Yeah, a bunch.
Oh man, I
Harvey
gotta go
Korman
back
was
and watch
on it.
Well, starting on the Carol Burnett show, that makes sense.
Carol Burnett would show up on it.
I love Harvey Korman. I know a lot of people say that Tim Conway was their favorite thing about Carol Burnett, but for me, it's all about
Brent
Harvey
Spinner
Korman.
was also on this show.
When Carol Burnett would show up on the show, I thought that they were doing one of those like shows where the actor plays 2 different characters.
Right.
I swear to God.
Really?
No,
I swear to God,
'cause, like,
I
look-
thought
look-
pulling a Peter Sellers
the
or
character
something?
of Mama,
Like, look at
is
the-
clearly a young woman playing an older
Oh
woman.
yeah.
And
Like,
it just
you can kinda
And
tell.
also, she throws an air to Carol Burnett.
Yeah. I feel like Mama might have been.
I'm not going to explain that and just let
No,
Daniel DeBona figure out what that means.
she throws in there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a great show. I'm not. Yeah,
I honestly have never seen,
never even heard of it.
never even heard of it. This jogs no memory
I
of mine.
had never heard of.
This looks like a stock photo. If it wasn't for Rue
I mean,
McCallum's
it was
face
low
on
budget.
It, I'd be
It
like,
was a low budget sitcom.
Yeah. I never heard a bunch of before we started recording. There was a bunch of shows that you got. You know what I mean? Like
Dwarf.
Red Peter
Red
Dinklage.
Dwarf,
I had no idea what the hell this was. So that's it. Is that it?
Yeah.
My honorable mentions have all been talked about. It was Night Court, Head of the Class, and Growing Pains.
Nice.
That was the list that I cut out.
I was surprised that Growing
good
Pains
list in
didn't
its
show
own.
up on.
Huh?
I was surprised that Growing Pains didn't show up.
It was either Growing Pains or Charles in Charge, man.
Or Days and
This is fair.
All right. So number ones. You, Dave and Steph have the same one.
Yay!
I think.
My
I
number
was-
4
oh, okay.
is the same as her number 1.
Oh yes, I screen
Didn't you
table at you, I
tape?
think.
You
I didn't table anything.
when
think I
when
yelled
she said
table at
Golden
him.
Girls, I thought.
I said Golden Girls for 4.
And I said tabled it
Yeah.
because it's my number one.
okay. Never mind. I
Never
think I
mind.
yelled table.
You did yell tabled also. Because it's your number two.
I had a long day.
Okay.
Okay, so my number one would be Golden Girls.
I love this show.
Fantastic
Yeah.
show.
Yeah,
I love the
show.
theme song.
It's fantastic.
Love the theme song.
yeah, no, fantastic scene songs. The characters like completely. I feel like the archetypes worked really well with each other.
Is what's her name? Has she always been old?
Betty White?
No,
B. Arthur is who you're
B.
thinking
Arthur.
of.
no, Estelle Getty.
Well, she was
Oh,
younger than
yeah.
B. Arthur.
Yeah.
She was younger than all of them except Rue McCallaghan.
And
Oh, really?
She
Yeah.
was so old. Every show, I remember watching her in shows
they-
that she did before that, and I
Stop
was
Her, My
like,
Mom
"How
Will
is she
Shoot?
not?"
I love that movie. It's so bad. It's good.
How do you love that movie, but you don't like Drive Angry? Is beyond me.
You know what? Maybe I need to, and I've said this. Maybe I need to give Drive Angry another shot.
Yeah,
Jeff's nodding his head. I think I agree with you.
he's shaking his head, not nodding. Shaking is different.
You're right.
I was like, no, 'cause
Can't argue that.
I don't want to. Depends. When did you start nodding your head? Did you start nodding your head and then end up shaking your head? Because that's what counts.
I mean,
So I love the theme song. I've only watched a handful of episodes, and they were all very serious. One of them, Blanche, was getting an HIV test, and I was like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck?"
okay,
There-
you definitely.
I know. I get it.
There
She's a
were a
whore.
lot of serious episodes on
Yeah.
this.
But
So
I mean, there's
it's
a lot
not.
of
It's
serious
not like it was
episodes.
like an oddball episode.
That's
You could
why
go
it
to
felt
every
like every
sitcom.
it felt like every episode, but it felt like the handful of again only a handful. So my what's that word I'm looking for? That when you do a
Like
test,
your test group.
Your litmus.
My test group is so
your
small
litmus
Yeah.
that I understand that it shouldn't count for anything because it's so small, but with that. All of them just seemed like they were all serious. And again, they had funny moments, of course. But I'm just like, okay. I think the funniest moments I've seen from Golden Girls are when I see clips on Facebook or something. When I see like a quick 30-second clip or a 2-minute clip. And that's what I've seen. I've never seen a full episode of Golden Girls where I'm like, that's hilarious.
I'll watch it on TV at night when I'm going to sleep. Like randomly, I'll find it on. That's what I'll put on to watch.
Yeah.
And I'll get through like 2 or 3 episodes before I go to sleep.
I always laugh.
Yeah.
There's always going to be.
Estelle Getty's like one of my favorite.
She was as a kid my favorite, and she still is. Like sometimes that happens where, like with Taxi, where like
Yeah.
Laka was the draw for me as a kid, and then as I got older, I'm like, oh well, it's obviously Louis.
Yeah. But her smart ass remarks. Oh my god.
She
so
was
dry.
from start to finish still is my favorite thing about.
There's an episode where she's she's in a hospital and they ask her for her social security number and she goes 0 0
I remember this.
0 0, and then the pause is all the fucking glory, dude. She's so fucking funny, and she's just and everybody's losing and laughing, and she's just deadpanning the whole fucking thing. And she goes 0 0 0 1. I mean, and you can see it coming after the third
Yeah.
0. You know where this is fucking going.
Yeah.
But she just keeps fucking going, and it's so fucking funny. And I'm like, oh, this is great.
That
Yeah.
is one of the most lasting impressions I have of that show.
Yeah.
Is that scene?
Yeah. And then that same episode, somebody stole all her life savings and she died poor. No, I'm kidding. But my point is, it was like within a serious context, and I was like, oh, this is like.
She got an email from a Nigerian prince.
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
the rest is
Like
history.
honestly, I just really liked that it was a TV show about women of a certain age still having a life, and like it was one of the few shows that actually centered around that.
Still fucking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was still fucking like
And still
doing
working
stuff.
and like deciding I don't want to do this job anymore. I want to do something else.
And it
Yeah.
gave, and it didn't. Wasn't it because of that it gave Empty Nest came about? Didn't Empty Nest have something to do with Golden Girls?
I don't. I'm not too fond of the. I'm not too familiar with the history of Golden Girls because it's.
I know Golden Place was the one that came out after because B. Arthur was done. She moved to Georgia with Rose's uncle. Was it? She married Rose's uncle,
I don't remember.
and she leaves the show, and then they all stay. Her mom was going to move with her. She decides to stay, and then Golden Place came around.
Right, Palace.
Golden Palace. That's it. Golden
I
Palace.
just see it here.
Yeah. And like honestly, like it was like freaking Betty White.
Pretty whack and get him.
But I'm saying Betty White like just stayed that way forever.
Her
You look back on the
She's
ages
still alive,
like
right?
Don Cheadle and Jack Black were and Cheech Marin were in Golden Palace.
So
really.
George
Yes.
Clooney was in Golden Girls.
Yeah?
Yeah. He got one of his starts in Golden Girls, and there was a joke that they did at an award show where Betty White and him were presenting, and he's like, "Yeah, we were in Golden Girls together," and he's like, "Yeah, I remember what you had to do to get that job," and he's like, "You did good, boy." Like they played off of that angle, and I was like, "This is fucking great, yeah."
Yeah, definitely. No, and like it's funny because when you look back at like when the show actually started and their ages, like they're
not that old.
They're really not that old.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where like it shows you how messed up 80s style was. Like
that early 50s was
considered
you're old already.
Yeah, like you're old, you're past your prime, you can't do anything, you might as well die, and be like, dude, she just turned 50. Like I look at my like parents and my mom and stuff like that, and I'm like, they're fine. They still have like so much time.
Right.
I can't imagine someone shipping them off into like one house and being like, and now you live here together because you can't do anything on your own. No one's gonna love you.
Right.
They dealt with like really interesting things about like, you know, like Rue McGowan's like her brother being like, I think it was her brother who was gay. Or Rose's brother was gay. Like one of them
one of them was her son. It was the son.
Was it son or brother? I thought it was it was brother.
I can't remember. It's been a long time.
But I think it might have been one or the other. But like them dealing with like a gay family member and stuff like that, and other people like teaching them to accept and like tolerance was taught then. Like maybe not full on acceptance, but you know, because they still need to. It was still the 80s.
Right.
It was still the 80s. But like things like that kind of stuff stuck with me. Like I just genuinely love that. It was just like a little house of progressive women, and the one Southern woman who was whorish enough to be progressive.
That was the show I mentioned at the very beginning. That I know it wasn't the demographic, but even when I was young, I watched it and I was laughing.
But there was also, at least for me, there was this connection to the show that it took place in Miami, and I know that it was shot in LA, but it took place in Miami, and all the exterior shots were done at MGM Studios.
Was it Miami or Boca?
I think it was in Miami. I think they lived in Miami, not Boca. Though Boca is obviously, realistically, a much bigger retirement.
Which I confirmed Empty Nest was a spin-off of Golden Girls because he was in the same neighborhood.
Or was Golden Girls a spin-off of Empty Nest?
No, it said that the thing I showed you, it said there was an episode actually of Golden Girls called Empty Nests. And that's what steamrolled the pilot for the show. But they were in Miami. And it was like, or in South Florida, at least is a better way, I guess, to say it.
And before they tore down the backlot at MGM Studios, you would take the backlot tour and they would point out, that's the Golden Girls house.
Yeah.
And so you'd pass, I'd pass by it and I'm like, oh, that's the house that I see on the TV. So I would look for that show as a kid because there was that connection with it. Like you said, I wasn't the target demographic.
Right.
But I still
in Miami.
Yeah, I still laughed about it, and like for me as a kid, like Estelle Getty, like we were saying, but also those absurd, like they came out of nowhere. Those stories that Betty White told about her childhood, growing up in like Wisconsin or wherever it was, Nebraska. Yeah.
Wasn't it like a random island?
No, she grew up in like this like middle America, like Midwest town, and it was all ridiculous. It was like all an episode of Green Acres is what she was basically describing, and it was just outlandish. You're like, what fucking world is she from? She was so out there. Like if Phoebe had been funny on Friends, I feel like
likable.
Or likable. Right. Yeah. It would have been Betty White's
character.
Yeah.
Do you think Betty White's character kind of fed into like informed Phoebe?
Oh wow!
Saint Olaf.
The first episode featured a gay houseboy named Coco. That's very progressive as fuck for back then.
Which didn't test well, and they dropped him.
This is where I got thrown off. Rose is a Norwegian American.
The role was dropped before the second episode. That's funny.
She was a Norwegian American from a small farming town of St. Olaf, Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, Minnesota. That's it.
I remember it was a Saint something. But yeah.
So yeah,
That's a great number one.
Love that show.
Fantastic pick.
I know that was a solid pick. It defends some of my others.
David?
My number one, like I mentioned before, this is not nearly as good as some of the other ones, but this is, for me, I'm fairly certain that this was my introduction to television. You're 100% right.
Am I right?
It's Alf.
There we go.
Alf.
I knew it!
Alf is...
I called it!
Alf is one of those TV shows where like
Is it because it's short, hairy guy?
Damn it, you beat me. Fuck, you started talking, and I was like, don't say the joke, don't say the joke, don't say the joke.
Too late.
I also
With the worst ending in fucking TV history.
I don't even remember it.
He gets kidnapped by the government, and that's it. The show
Oh,
ends.
That's how it ends.
Oh, because the show got canceled, though.
Right.
I always assumed that there was more after that.
Nope.
Okay, because it only ran for 2 seasons.
The
I
show
think, 2 or
got
3
canceled.
seasons.
The show got canceled, so they ended it on the cliffhanger of him getting taken away by the government to be
See, but
experimented
that to
on.
me isn't as bad because of exterior circumstances. That to me shouldn't go down in
It would have been
worse-
explained.
Yeah, it would have. You know what I mean? It
You're
was-
right. I forgot How I Met Your Mother.
And How I Met Your
yeah,
Mother,
that's awful.
which I still haven't seen. Don't ruin it. Don't spoil it. And then I still haven't seen. And then The Sopranos was fucking bad, dude.
I never watched The Sopranos.
But again, I think that they had that sort of they were holding out for that
No.
movie thing.
No, they've defended it. They've doubled down on it. The creators have doubled down, and they're like, no, that's just regular life. The way life keeps going for these guys, and I'm like, well,
I mean, they're not wrong, but it doesn't make for good TV.
Yeah, it doesn't make for good TV.
Yeah,
So.
I hear the same thing.
I heard Dexter
about
was
Dexter.
horrific.
Yeah,
I've never seen Dexter.
My best friend is a psychologist, and he tells me that is the most realistic ending that they could have written for a psychopath. And I tell him that's perfectly fine, but it doesn't make for compelling television.
Yeah, I don't even remember how does it end. Oh, wait, is there some reason?
So there's actually 4 seasons.
Oh, 4, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Get up! Get up!
Oh, I thought you had grabbed it already.
Okay, so for anyone who's listening,
Jackets have 2 sleeves.
I'm not looking.
there's literally just a fight about a
So
jacket on
the
a chair.
season-ending cliffhanger, Consider Me Gone, became an international series finale when NBC gave Alien Productions a verbal commitment for a 5th season, but ultimately withdrew its support.
Yeah, so it was going to be tied up.
Isn't NBC also the one that just canceled Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
So the ABC resolved the
No, that's
cliffhanger
Fox.
on February 17th, 96 with the TV movie Project Alf.
I never saw that.
Yeah.
For me as a kid, it was all about just this ridiculous looking alien puppet, and the fact that like life was perfectly normal in the Tanner household, except for the fact that like the weird like second son was an alien.
that sounds like a log line for the show. Like you just wrote like life was perfectly normal in the Tanner household except for the weird fucking son.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is, and like the
I got to be honest with you. There's a lot of similarities. I've watched few episodes or a handful of episodes of Alf recently, like within the last month, and there's a lot of similarities. The first couple episodes are rough, dude. It's fucking tough to get through.
it still hasn't hit its stride
It's-
until like halfway through.
But there are some episodes where it kind of is very reminiscent of, and I know it's kind of blasphemous because the show is pretty amazing. Of I Dream of Jeannie. You
Okay.
had the
Really?
you had the nosy neighbor who was like she had an inclination that there was something wrong, but she could never really pinpoint it. And there was always something, you know what I mean? So there was that aspect, and there was we're hiding something from the rest of society, but only our family, our immediate family
and
knows.
Alf is not doing a very good job of hiding.
Yeah,
it,
and
just
he's
like
not-
Jeannie wasn't.
Yeah, just like Jeannie would always do shit magic over
like
their fucking
Bewitched
nose.
and
And,
stuff like
right. That's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about Bewitched. I'm sorry. I said I Dream of Jeannie, but I meant Bewitched. The show has a lot of similarities with Bewitched. I apologize. That's why I said the nosy neighbor. Bewitched. Right.
I have gone back and I've rewatched this because
Were you afraid it wasn't going to hold up?
I was afraid it wasn't going to hold up. And like Neri said, the first couple episodes are a little rough. I think it's too cheesy. And just like Bewitched, like it doesn't feel, at least the first couple episodes, doesn't feel like an 80s show. It actually feels older. It's got like a very old school sense of humor and timing, and every
feels like a bad show.
Every episode ended with the family huddled around Alf laughing. Like, you know, it was like
He ate a cat.
It's
Right.
It's kind of
The
like
other white
it's
meat.
kind of like what Fuller House is like today.
right. Yeah.
Garbage.
That's
I could
that's
not
actually
keep watching
not.
that show.
Yeah, as you shouldn't. But that's exactly what the first few episodes. I'm talking about like first 5 or 6 episodes of Alf was like, oh boy, this nostalgia shit is fucking deep because goddamn, this is
once
fucking
they
so awful.
once they really find, you know, the rhythm of the show, and a lot of it really goes back to them.
I can't believe this is your number one.
It really is. It left the most lasting impression on me.
The puppet, man.
Yeah,
It was a big deal.
It was the
Man, I
puppet.
used to have all of fucking the merchandising. Man.
Yeah.
I used to have a lunchbox.
Merchandise.
I used to have an off
I still have.
lunchbox.
I still have my off. My.
You still have it?
I still have it. Yeah. It's
I don't know what happened to
It's in
mine.
Link's room now.
Yeah.
And
He just wears it as a skin now. He finally grew into
He
it.
was playing Predator.
anytime.
beautiful
The more into the like culture of Melmac that the show got, like the more, the less it explored the like sort of we're trying to hide something, and the more it dove into the let's really look at how disruptive Alf can be, the better the show got.
This guy on TV is talking about gold like it's worth something.
That was one of the greatest things. Then he makes his way into the laundry,
Yeah.
right? And they've got all this lint. They're throwing the lint on. He goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "That's the most precious thing on Melmac," you know. And it's like, oh, okay. There's all these like weird things.
yeah.
The whole cat thing. It may be the oldest like running gag. Like it may have gotten old after like 3 episodes. I still laugh whenever he goes after the fucking cat.
Oh, when he had the hiccups, he had the hiccups for him who like would shake the whole house, and there was only 2 ways of getting rid of it. One is cat juice, and then the other one I can't even say because it's that disgusting. And then they go, fuck, well, we got to try to figure out another way, whatever. And then it turns out that he goes, well, how do you get cat juice? He goes, well, it's just like orange juice. You get a cat, and then you. And then he would mime squeezing. And then they're like, what's the other way? He's like, I don't even. It's so disgusting. Like, oh my god. So they didn't talk about. And then at the end of the episode, it turns out that like prune juice or some bullshit like that cured it. It's like, what the fuck? All you gotta do is take or tomato. I think it was tomato juice.
Yeah.
Like all you gotta do is take tomato juice. Like, oh my god, I don't even want to talk about how disgusting it is.
And like to me, it really just does go back to Alf and how absolutely absurd he is.
The dream sequences were really good. There was a lot of episodes where there was a lot of dream sequences because you got to imagine he can't leave the house.
Yeah.
So a lot of these episodes that were outside the house were dream. There was a dream sequence where he became a stand-up comic, and he went up in front of a very young, very alive John Panay, and I know it hurt my fucking. Like I saw that and I'm like, it broke my heart. I'm like, oh no. And then that whole episode is how he became a hack, how he became super famous, but he wouldn't write, he wouldn't change his act. And I was like, this man, as a comedian, now as a professional comedian, I'm like, man, this motherfucker hit this shit right on the fucking nose. They knew what they were talking about. And then John Panay overlaps him in fame. And he goes, oh, you're a cautionary tale, Alf. Thank you very much. Because guys like you, young comics now know that we have, that they have to write and not be lazy and not,
I feel like that entire like episode was the writers like just trying to lecture a bunch of comedians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like there's like fucking, I bet, because I'm sure the writers were all comics, and I'm sure that this motherfucker, whoever this fucking insert whatever stand up was hot at that moment in the 80s.
Yeah. I wonder who it was. Like, I wonder who they were trying to like. That was like their version of subtweeting someone. Just like writing a whole episode around them.
Maybe Robin Williams.
At that time, no.
He was known to be a thief.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
At that time,
he was known to be a thief.
like
Stand up.
Who's the watermelon guy? Forgot his name.
Gallagher.
Gallagher. There you go.
But are you talking about Gallagher or his brother Gallagher? No, I'm not lying. There's 2 Gallaghers. When he retired, he bought the act off of his brother.
No shit.
Swear to God.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I did not.
And they continued on as if it was the same guy. And then, here's a weird thing. His brother sued him because in the contract, he wasn't allowed to use pictures of his brother, even though they were fucking twins. And his brother
that's
sued him.
worse.
And his brother sued him because he was using pictures of him, not of himself, of his brother.
Right.
And that was like a breach of contract because he bought the act. He didn't buy him.
The image.
So, right. And then,
even though they had the same image.
and even though they had the same image, and so he would be by contract, he would have to go after the lawsuit. He would have to go by Gallagher too.
No.
Yeah,
That's insane.
Boogaloo.
I knew it. I was waiting.
so
So there you go. Yeah, Alf. That's my favorite.
very surprised.
My favorite. My number
Yours.
one is The Cosby Show.
Same
okay.
table.
Okay. What's your number one, Neri?
Cosby Show.
I mean,
It's the
You
greatest.
guys
it's
can
one of,
still watch
it's
it
one
now.
of the greatest sitcoms of all time.
It is.
I
I
have
mean-
no problems in.
Yeah, but I'm
watching
saying
that
you
show.
can watch him. Like
Why?
him.
Why? That doesn't
Dude.
bother me. At all.
because of what he was doing while that show was going on.
He was doing it afterwards and beforehand too. I still eat Jello. You don't eat Jello anymore?
I don't. He is not Jello. His face
really?
isn't Jello.
Really?
If you think
He
of
was a
Jello, you think of Bill Cosby,
Right.
I don't think of anything else from when I think of Jello, it's Bill Cosby.
Absolutely. In fact, when I think of Bill Cosby, I think of Jello.
Yeah.
With a roofie, but still Jello.
Oh God! Then I forget about it, and I don't remember how I got it.
And then I wake up with my pants unbuttoned, but still, the fact that I think about Jello is comes.
Like
I can't
It
do
really is fantastic.
the thing is,
It's a fantastic
It's
show.
a great show.
I'm looking at it from the standpoint of the show was probably one of the greatest sitcoms of all time.
No matter what, that's why it tends to go on my honorable mentions. I can't put it on my mountain and say that I will actually sit there and be able to rewatch it without looking at that guy's face the entire time being like, you are such a fucking evil human being.
I agree with you that
Nobody's
he's a fucking
defending Bill Cosby.
No, I'm not defending him.
Nobody
But it
is
still
gonna
doesn't
do-
take away from the work that he did, that show did.
And it wasn't just him. But it wasn't just him, too.
that show brought around other
whole cast.
That
Yeah.
show was that show and Good Times right before and Good Times before it were and
That was the first show where it was all black cast that was highly successful. They weren't in the ghetto. They weren't in the hood. They weren't.
Good
Was
Times
it
they were in the
Good,
hood.
good times they were in the hood. What's happening? They were in the hood. They were
Jeffersons had white people in it.
Yeah, the Jeffersons had the Jeffersons came before it, and the Jeffersons even that took forever. Where it was like they were highly successful, and even in the Jeffersons, Weezy was a housewife.
Yeah.
So it was one of those where women still had their quote unquote place in the thing.
Look, no matter
The
what,
Cosby Show had a doctor and a highly
attorney.
successful attorney.
Yeah.
And they're raising a whole family, and they were well off, and it was fucking.
Look, no matter what, like the
But you're
reason
right. He was a fucking evil being.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit.
But
He
I'm
is an
saying,
evil
like,
being.
I
Let's
do,
not
I
pass
do,
that
piece of
like,
shit,
I
yeah.
do acknowledge the importance of the show and like what came from it
Right.
and everything like that, and that's why for me it ended up on my honorable mention because it's still an important like a show and everything like that. I can't revisit it. I can't watch it and enjoy it now without being disgusted. And I don't know, maybe if it comes from
we've talked about this on Woodbro for years ago, where you can't watch a Roland Polanski movie for the same reason.
Right.
Yeah.
You choose not to watch a Roland Polanski movie for the same reason. You can't watch a Woody Allen movie for that reason.
Yeah.
Right. Like we've talked about this
Are you
before.
going to
Like
say that The Usual Suspects isn't a good movie now?
I actually never seen The Usual,
Oh, well, okay, never mind.
and it still hasn't been spoiled for me. So
You should probably watch it.
yeah,
spoiler alert, he's a jerk. Spoiler alert, he's a fucking
Bad example. Then.
he's a pedophile monster.
Even before that, Bryan Singer is the one who directed that, right? And he's had lots of stuff that's been said about him.
the problem is it.
but it has been gone to like
Confirmed.
The problem is, does it
But I'm
does it
saying, I
make
don't
it
know about
different?
the-
Yeah.
But does it take away from the quality of what that show was, or what that?
As I'm
that
saying, that's
thing
why
was?
it ends up in the
Hey,
honorable mention.
listen.
Right.
But I can't in my right mind,
I'm with you. Remember years ago on Woodbro, you and I we talked about this same thing where
Before it was actually confirmed.
before it was confirmed, we talked about,
We just heard about it.
things like Woody Allen and people of that nature,
Roman
where it wasn't
Polanski,
confirmed.
like you mentioned,
Polanski. And I would say all the time, as long as they don't physically hurt anybody, I'm okay with it. Like, yes, I don't have to like you as a person, but I'll just judge you based upon your act. Here's the fucked up
He
part.
did physically.
He did physically hurt people, and I'm like, so now I'm put in the position where I'm like, well, you did say, and I'm like, well, I know what I fucking said.
Yeah, like your
but
move.
the Cosby Show is still really good.
But
though.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
that is you as a good man
Yeah.
moving the line.
Yeah.
like deciding that you can move the line.
Right. For comedy, yeah, for Jello, and
But
I agree. No, you're not wrong. I am not disagreeing with you on it. This is not like the numbers thing where you're wrong on the numbers thing. You have a solid, valid point, and I am not disagreeing with you.
I'm agreeing with you too. He's a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit.
But
I would-
the show is
thought
also
Cosby-
more than just him.
I thought Bill Cosby was a piece of shit before he was even confirmed. Before Hannibal-Buress. When the Hannibal-Buress said it, I was like, yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah, we
like
had
a
already
thing.
known by then.
We already had known by then, and people ask. I've been on the radio when they ask me like, "Oh, you as a comedian?" I go, "No, I think he did it." Like I'm not gonna fucking protect him because.
Why?
We do the same job. Why? Because we do in the same profession, the same industry. Like, no, I don't. And I'm not hating on him because he's famous and I'm not. Like, that's not that's not a thing either. But I was like, no, I think he did it. I think he's a dirtbag. That was before all was confirmed. That was before he got convicted. That was all before that shit. And I said no. So I agree. He's totally dirtbag. And I totally coming from somebody who says I can't watch that show again. Don't blame me. I'm not.
Yeah,
that
I'm not
is-
knocking it at all.
I'm not trying to get you to watch it either. I'm not be like, no, but give it a shot, Stephanie. Watch the fucking rapist as he, hugs a kid. Like I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to tell you that.
And it like a bunch of the other shows that we've talked about before, it did tackle very important themes, like and stuff like Theo dealing with his dyslexia. You had teen pregnancy was tackled in it because I think it was Denise's friend when they were younger got pregnant and they were dealing with what happens with teen pregnancy and like there's a lot of things that they did tackle that weren't really addressed before. It unfortunately,
I think it's one of the things where like it just feels like now
dirty.
it feels like a dirty. That feels like a lie. Like
Right.
I feel lied to because he was such a positive father
was America's
figure,
dad.
And he was the clean
like,
comic, and he didn't
clean
believe
comic,
in
and he would
cursing
talk-
and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and he would try to like be an example to other black men and all this stuff. And like it's one of the things where like he put himself in this position,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden like turns out like he
Oh no,
didn't see anything wrong in what he was doing.
I
too.
again totally would never defend. I've never defended Bill Cosby. In fact, you and I have been on an episode a long time ago where before we even got into the dynamic of as a person, I always said he's not funny. I don't find Bill Cosby stand-up funny, and that's blasphemous for a comedian to say about Bill Cosby.
is it though? I saw him at Gator Grow. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
See, like I don't understand that because my favorite comedy special has always been Bill Cosby himself.
Yeah. No, that checks out because you don't like anything that we like as far as what we think is funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, every time we mention a funny movie, you go watch it and go, it wasn't funny. We're like, all right, well, I don't know what to tell you. So the fact that you think Bill Cosby himself, I'm like, I don't like, a 6-hour story. I'm not that guy. So, for one punchline, all right, we fucking get it, Bill. But that's just, again, that's very, as a comedian, that's very like, oh, you're not supposed to say
Even
that.
just with his words, he put me to sleep.
Yeah. Stephanie doesn't like those jokes. She really doesn't find those jokes funny.
Okay.
I think it's hilarious. But Stephanie doesn't think those jokes are funny. And she's right here.
I don't know if you know this, but she's been here the whole time.
So let's wait till she leaves and then we make these jokes. No, I'm kidding. No, but
No, you're not.
I'm kidding about making jokes behind your back. I'm saying
You're like, I
kidding.
totally do that. That's just-
Totally do that. But I am.
But no, it's not in supporting him.
I'm not
or
trying
what
to
he
support the
did.
show. I'm not trying to support him. I'm just saying the show is, when I talk about the best sitcoms of all time, to me, I don't think like what they did. When they did the CBS, was it NBC, like whatever anniversary it was like 2 years ago. And they did it was like a whole 1 hour special, and they went back in time, and they, from the humble beginnings of NBC Radio and blah 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 and stuff there. They totally glossed over. They did not mention the Cosby Show at all. Like if it doesn't exist, I'm like, well, that's not fair either.
Right.
I mean, now you're rewriting history because.
But it's just.
Well, it's like you mentioned with.
Do you understand how big? Do you understand how big the show was?
With the AFI, with the AFI Top 100,
Yeah.
it's a totally politically motivated.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
decision.
Braveheart's not one of the top 100 movies. All of a sudden, really? Is that?
I
Really?
mean, I understand.
all of a sudden, the Braveheart's not that good of a movie anymore. Now there's all of a sudden another 100, at least another 100 movies better than Braveheart because the star is a fucking asshole, a racist asshole. All of a sudden there's 100 better movies. That doesn't change the movies. The movie is a movie.
I think no matter what, like context of people and like the way that something is projected still does affect
I think it's different, and I can see where you're coming from because the show, it was him as the all-American dad,
like
the
he wasn't a
wholesome
character
father.
in it. He
Right.
was so much of the cornerstone of
Right.
the show.
Correct, and he projected what you wanted everybody wanted their dad to be.
Yeah.
Because he was like in that show, he was the loving father who gave you whatever you needed.
He was fair. He was always fair.
right.
Yeah.
Fair, still
And then
funny,
this
like,
comes
yeah.
out, and it's completely different than that character that.
Hey, he's
But
a
then
fucking monster.
Right.
Yeah, but then he also like in real life still kind of projected as if he was still that guy.
Correct.
Like he took on that character into life. That's the thing. That's the thing about it
hypocrisy,
too.
He knew
The hypocrisy.
that
Like,
was
that stuff
Cash Cow.
pains
We were
it.
watching what was it, Eddie Murphy Raw
Right.
not that long ago, and Eddie Murphy's got this bit about how Cosby calls him up.
saying that he shouldn't be cursing so much on his
Right.
show.
Yeah,
And you can be funny without
Yeah.
filth, farther and filth.
You know, it was totally something that he sold and the world bought. I think it has everything to do with objectivity. If you can look at the show as a disparate work where it is not associated with Cosby, it's just the show. I'm with you guys, but of course everything is subjective, and your experience watching it is going to be your experience watching it. And I'm with you. That's why it didn't make my list over Golden Girls. Because I thought to myself,
nobody in Golden Girls raped anybody. Is that what the deciding factor
there
was?
wasn't.
no.
Steph was like, yes, that's it. That's,
No, but for me,
one of these shows raped
I
people.
asked-
One of these shows didn't. That's what the show didn't rape
I asked
people.
myself which one of these would I rather watch right now?
Yeah.
And Golden Girls won out over Cosby. That's what was fighting out for my number 4. So, I
totally get it.
But I get it because I laughed my ass off with that show nonstop. I loved that show.
Yeah,
I looked forward to watching.
Rudy was amazing in that. One of my favorite characters was Rudy. I like Rudy. So.
The thing is, he's so much. I don't know. Like,
I totally get it, man. You don't have to defend your stance. I honestly, as a,
it's not like Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince turned out to be a dick. Like, turned out to be a horrible monster.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, Fresh Prince is still great. It was this one random character who would come in every so often
Right.
was a horrible monster,
Right.
like as a real person, but that has nothing to do with his character. And it's not like he portrayed that character in real life and made influential shit with it.
I totally get it, man. You don't have to defend your. When somebody, Steph, if you tell me when you say I can't go back and watch that show, I would never ask you to. I'd be like, it makes sense, man. I totally get. You don't. As a human being, as a person, as a man, as a friend, I could look at somebody saying that and be like, totally get it, man.
Yeah.
You don't have to defend that stance.
As questions, you guys are all parents and I'm not. And this is not like will you do this like as a lecturing thing? Like genuine curiosity. Your kids have the Cosby Show in front of them. Are you going to have a conversation with them about it? Are you just going to let them watch it? Are you going to let them be fans of it?
No, I let them watch it. I let them watch. Again, if there was a like the infatuation that I had with Van Damme as a kid, where I wanted to get my hands on anything Van Damme, right? Kind of like what
Including
I have,
Van Damme.
yeah,
Especially Van Damme.
starting with Van Damme. But when I was a kid, like if that, like any movie that would come out, any Van Damme movie, I had to be there, I had to watch it, so I had to I would record all his movies on VHS and this whole thing. So as a parent, if I saw any of my kids doing that with Bill Cosby, I'd be like, well, now we have to have a conversation.
Right.
But if you're just watching a show, you don't, especially, and now what age are we talking about? Because my daughter's 7, so are we talking about she's 7 or are we talking about she's 15? Because when she's 15, she won't know the history. Somebody will have to teach her what happened. Just like Dave's students have to read about 9/11, my daughter's going to have to read up. I mean, she's not going to be, she's going to have to read about what happened, who this Bill Cosby guy was.
Yeah.
So I'll be more than happy to have that conversation then at an appropriate age. But if she's just watching an episode or if she's watching the show, I'm not going to be like, well, just so that you know.
Yeah.
Before you laugh, some shit went down. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? And it didn't happen in the show or to anybody that was cast in the show.
Right.
That's another thing. I think that's another, maybe in my mind, maybe it's just I'm making excuses. Maybe I'm making, you know what? Maybe I'm making excuses. I'm fair. I'm honest enough with myself to be like, maybe that's what I'm doing. Because I think it would feel different for me if he raped Claire Huxtable. Like in real life, I'll be like, well, now I can't watch that show because now I know that she was.
What was going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Like on the set.
On the set. Like that would be maybe a thing.
But I mean,
okay,
still
maybe
was-
I'm just making excuses. Maybe.
But yeah, it is a little kind of that thin line is so dangerous.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Really is. Just because it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, but then like, are you really only like you didn't want to watch it because you don't want to actually see the victims in front of you?
Yeah.
But like, they're still wandering around that set in the past.
I mean, I'm with you because, like you mentioned, Roman Polanski, right? And one of my favorite all-time movies is a Roman Polanski movie, which is Chinatown. And I absolutely love that movie. And anytime someone mentions, that movie, I am going to lay into that movie and talk about it as much as I possibly can.
Without mentioning him.
Without mentioning him. Yeah, and I did just that when we talked about our mountain of movie villains. I talked about John Huston's character in that film. He's absolutely diabolical, and I talk so much about him and that film without actually making it about Polanski. But if I held true to my guns, like, I wouldn't be able to watch that movie.
Yeah. See, for me with Woody Allen, it's a little bit different because Woody Allen's movies are so obviously just him doing like self-flagellation, kind of like trying to like live out different little fantasies where he's the main character all the time.
I never
where
found
I'm just
him
like,
funny though.
I never found any of his movies funny,
Yeah.
so I don't give a fuck about not watching.
Whereas like Polanski,
Like if somebody goes, hey, you can never eat shit again. Oh no! Or like,
Polanski, I still see the art in what he does, and Cosby, I still see the humor in what he did.
In that show.
In that, right? You know,
not a stand-up. In that show.
Agree to disagree, but yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I get where you guys are coming from.
I would never.
You know, I love that show. I will never argue with anyone who says that
especially
is the greatest 80s show.
Especially as a man to a woman, when a woman says, "I can't watch that show,"
I got it. Yeah.
Who the fuck am I to be like, no, woman, you watch it? Like, who the fuck? Like, yeah, I'm not. No, yeah, absolutely.
Listen,
that guy creeps me out, and I'm a fucking grown ass man, and he creeps me the fuck out. Like, I can't even.
Why don't you go make us some sandwiches?
Yeah.
We'll sit down and we'll watch it, and then we can decide.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, and then I'll tell you how to think.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Again,
you know what's fucked up is I'm aware everything's jokes, but there's a knee-jerk reaction in my head that's like, rage.
Yeah, no, like again, that's why when you started talking about it, I'm like, hey man, as a man, I would never tell a woman that she's wrong for feeling a certain way. So
right.
Like I said, as a person, as a human, as a man, I totally get that's I can't even argue that. I would never be able to do that. So, but I
notice how much I have to admit that it was a very specific kind of show and a very influential one, where it still ends up on my honorable mention. As much as I dislike him, as much as I hate him, I'm just like, I will not take away from the fact that the show did this, and that. The show is an entity, like it's its own thing. I'm understanding of that, but it's just so true.
I had this conversation with Aries.
Terrifying.
I had this conversation with Aries years ago, and he told me, he goes, Neri, what if it turns out that The Rock was a rapist? And I was like, why would you ever? Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby? I was like, what the fuck is? I was like, and I was, I said no, it would be over. Like my fandom for him will be over. Like I wouldn't be able to do that. And then he was like, I don't think so. And then
I think
I'm
for you, yes, because of the fact that you're such a fan of him as a person.
Yeah.
So if him as a person was horrible, then it would taint everything else. It's not.
Again, it all depends on what kind of horrible. Like I don't care if you're an asshole. Like Russell Crowe is known to not be a nice guy to crew and staff and whatever the fuck however.
Yeah, but an asshole's a different thing.
Again, like I said, it depends because some people don't like Russell Crowe just because he's an asshole. And I'm like, okay, he gives an amazing performance though. And that's where my standard of like, as long as it's not physically hurting anybody, I don't give a fuck. And then
there's Cosby.
Like, but I'm not a fan of Cosby. I don't like Cosby. I just like the Cosby Show. Mm-hmm. I just hate the fact that the show has his name. If it would have been called the Huxtables, I would have been like, fuck, all right, yeah. Like, Cosby's a dick, but Huxtables are awesome. Like, I can't, I get it, man. But that's my number one.
That's sad mountain. This show has gone in so many different directions.
I'm emotionally drained.
It's a Geekmore turn woo bro.
It really is. Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm like, this feels like the Geekmore special
I'll join
episode.
You. A geek bro.
Oh wait,
or geek woo. Woo geek.
What's up, geek?
Woo more.
Oh, we had that before. Remember that?
Yeah.
What's up, geek? Well, there goes that.
All right.
Anyways,
we have a couple of repeats.
Yeah.
Golden Girls,
and Cosby
Show.
I'm sorry. I didn't know he was going to pick it as number one. How am I supposed to know?
This makes me feel so dirty. Can they be on separate sides of the mountain so they don't have to talk to each other?
So that you don't have I'll change my pick for you if you want.
But then
Neri still got Cosby Show. So if we go by number ones, and I change my number.
All right, so Golden Girls and Cosby Show. What other shows? We have Newhart, Charles in Charge, Alf, Night Court, Different Strokes, Who's the Boss, Head of the Class, Mink, Mork and Mindy.
The only other ones from my list that I would actually make an argument for, because I'm not going to argue for Alf, because I know that's a personal favorite for me. I'd argue for Newhart.
I'd argue for a show that people have seen, so I'm going to go.
I actually really enjoyed Newhart. I'm not going to argue for a different world because that's going to be a whole thing, and we can't have Cosby Show and a different world because of the spin-off factor.
Oh, is that why? Or is that because the years weren't wrong?
Whatever, dude.
Is that why?
I really think it's a cusp.
I don't know how you think numbers are different. Like, I like the.
All right.
Do numbers bend when you go to the other hemisphere of the world? Is that what happens when you go to Australia? They
We
bend?
use the metric system. In the metric system,
In the metric system, 4 and 3 are the same.
When did a different world air in
would say-
Australia?
I would say
That's probably
who's
would
the
make it
boss?
later.
Did a different world air in Australia?
I don't know. Dave hasn't seen any shows like that. Sometimes I ask him like, did you watch?
Do you watch all like Australian made in Australia shows? Yeah. We get a lot of those on Netflix. My daughter is infatuated with a show about mermaids. It's like Mako something. Mako mermaids, yeah. And it's all filmed in Australia with Australians. It's all Australians, and my daughter is infatuated with it.
Yeah, I know her and your son kept running up to Dave earlier and trying to like boop him
Yeah,
and
get
then
him to
running
talk.
away.
Yeah,
to get him to get him to talk.
Yeah, if you touch him, he talks, and then it's.
All right. So what to?
Look, I'm down. I would fight for any one of my other picks. Different Strokes. Who's the boss? But I would also head of the class is great. It was Night Court is fantastic. Me and Jeff are very on the same page.
I would think Night Court is a good pick to go on there.
Good, Night Court done. All right, so
Wait, why wasn't Taxi on there as an option?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I like it. I picked it.
So
I think it would be.
I'd love to see Taxi on there.
because like so
Boom,
many.
all right, done.
Admittedly,
So
so
it's
many of my
Golden Girls,
other options.
Cosby Show, Night Court, and Taxi.
I'm good. I'm
that's the
good.
final marker.
I mean,
Okay, cool.
Golden Girls and Cosby Show have to be next to each other.
She's 100% on it. Forget the
Do
Cosby
you
Show.
want
it's
another
staying on
show?
there.
Do you want
I don't
another?
want the Cosby Show.
I'm like, we can't.
I also have never seen Night Court, so I can't attest to it. But I'm good with the other ones.
Well, Night Court was picked by Jeff, voted for by me, and seconded by Dave. So
Look, so many of my picks
that's
were custom
3-1.
shows.
that's 3 for math.
That's 3 for. That's
But
3 on
if you
one
want to
side.
think about it,
I
it's
do
like
one
4
mess
is
up
one.
the entire run of this show.
But you stuck to your guns. You just kept like going.
I just really love a different world. I will find an
I love it
excuse,
too.
guys.
I love a different
I
world
just
too.
really love a different
that show.
world.
No,
It
it's
is.
so
I love
fantastic.
just a world.
It's like a different world.
Didn't it make your monster for the
Where you
90s
come from.
sitcom?
Yeah, for the 90s.
It made you.
Well,
it
because it's a
literally
90s show.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, guys. It depends on how you look
It's on a
at it.
cusp.
See, I looked at it.
I love you so much. I love you so. You are so adorable. I love you so much.
You know what this reminds me of?
I have missed
That
you so
that
much.
student at every class, every teacher is familiar with this. That kid who's like, so I've got like an 88.7. Could you give me the like? I'm almost at an A. Like it's practically an A. Like you should just give me the A.
Is there extra credit?
But it's not.
Yeah.
But it's still a B.
Yeah, but if you look at
But
the,
it's still
but if you
90s.
look at it, but if you look at it, you can say that it's an A because it's so close.
Just
and it's pretty
admittedly, I
much-
would usually exhaust those teachers into giving me an A eventually.
I am inexhaustible.
I don't know. man.
No, your story
checks
checks
out. Totally believe that.
the fuck out.
Yeah, totally believe that.
We love
All right.
you.
My favorite response to how can I move this C to a B when it's we've got 6 hours before the semester ends is build a time machine, go back in time, do your work, study, and then come back and talk to me.
Well, if you're already building
you're
a time
saying
machine,
there's a chance.
If you're already building, I like the fact that in this world they build a time machine, but they can't just give the correct answers to every test. You still have to study.
They wouldn't think about that.
Like
though.
Even after building time.
even after building a time machine, like they're like, all right, now time to study. I just built a fucking time machine.
I hope I know what's going to be on this test.
Yeah. Fuck. Like it's so
Wait,
dumb.
what did he say that was going to be on this test?
There was a good episode of Boy Meets World like that, where he thought he was stealing the test questions, and Mr. Feeney left those questions.
Oh
out there on
yeah,
purpose.
yeah.
And then he
took
felt
the bait.
guilty. He felt guilty, and he confessed, and he goes, Mr. Matthews, I tell you what's going to be in a test every single week in class on the chalkboard. When I tell you to read chapter 9, it's going to be in the fucking test. It's going to be in a test. Like that was
rocket science.
Yes, exactly. It's not rocket surgery.
Rocket surgery.
Anyway, so thank you for coming, Steph. Love you. I've missed you. When are you coming back? Do you know?
No idea.
Yeah,
No
no idea.
earthly idea.
2819.
Anything in 2019?
We don't have anything planned just yet, but that's because I just started a new big girl job.
Ooh.
So I don't know how.
You want to tell people what you do?
Oh yeah. So yeah. So now, I mean, obviously, I'm still doing photography and stuff, but to
Pay bills?
pay bills, because new country, new life.
Who it is?
Huh?
New country, new life. Who it is?
I actually am doing recruitment now specifically for people in the creative industries. So I help people in the graphic designers and animators and people in advertising and stuff like that get work.
Great,
That's
cool.
awesome.
That's awesome. By the way, I forgot to mention this at the top of the episode. Merry Christmas, because this is coming out. This will be the last episode before Christmas.
So this is Christmas.
Yeah. So
And now it's a Christmas episode. Just 'cause
so
we did that.
Merry Christmas. And isn't it cold outside? Oh shit!
Oh.
Did Cosby write that song?
Bing
I
Crosby.
go back to that. I don't
know.
think that song's as messed up as people make it seem.
No, it's not.
Oh, because it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's messed up from when the time that it was written, but
Yeah.
nowadays it doesn't age well.
It
It's
sounds
like when you watch an episode
if
of a
you-
TV show and they do like a gay joke and you go,
yeah.
nowadays that shit will not be able to get crossed. Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that.
I mean, also people are reading these lyrics without
any subtext.
without the context of what they actually meant back when the song
Right,
was written.
that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
to their point, in all fairness, they shouldn't have to. You're listening to a song in 2018. You should. It's kind of like when you watched Eddie Murphy Delirious 3 months ago, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of homophobia, and I'm like, yeah, there is. It doesn't take. You're not wrong. It was taped in the 80s.
Right.
It shouldn't be
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck you, just deal with it. It should be like, well, no, you're right.
Yeah.
So same thing with music.
Yeah,
I mean,
No,
but you're right. It wasn't written.
Yeah.
when
We
it
could
was
have a
written.
whole dissertation about this.
We
song.
did on Woobro.
Oh, good.
Welcome. So
I've been busy.
I've been busy in love and blah 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 whatever. But thank you for coming back, Dave. Bring her back as often as you can. I know you can because this shit is expensive. To bring her back to the States. But
The way we have it organized now is since I get to just enjoy my photography now rather than having to stress at the beginning while setting it up. Anything from here on out that I book, I'm just gonna immediately oh look, that's a ticket back home. Whoop.
Nice.
That's a good idea.
and for the listeners, her website is
mydearwatson.co.
oh shit .co yo yeah mydearwatson.co. It used to be something else.
It used to be
It doesn't
the
matter.
words.
We don't have to go there because it
fine.
confuses people. I don't want to
Okay,
get
fine.
But it used to be something else.
But it is now called My Dear Watson.
My Dear
because
Watson.
I moved.
.co.
And it's for a guy named Watson. He's sitting over there. And yeah, I just figure I want to start building more content on it. I want to start blogging on it at some point when I have time. And yeah, I figure at some point I will eventually be talking to little ones called Watson. So no pressure, but
No pressure. Under pressure.
no pressure, but
You're
you
getting
know.
a dog.
You're getting puppies, bro. So and then to the listener, there is a video of mine that Steph has been editing. Has edited? I don't know if you're finished. Is it done? Is editing.
Is editing.
So and it's gonna come out soon. We don't know.
Do you want it to come out soon? Do
I
you want
thought
to come out top of the
Yeah,
okay.
right. So, anyways, I know it sounds like gibberish what I'm saying now, but when
It'll
does
make sense.
it'll make sense. I promise you.
Give it context.
I swear to God.
Oh yeah. Well, give it context.
No,
Yeah,
'cause I don't want to give away. That's what the whole thing. There's a video that's being done that's taken me an entire year to film, and Stephanie's editing it.
Yes.
There you
It'll come out soon,
Yes.
very soon.
Yes.
But
Longest porn ever.
yeah, title of my sex tape.
Boom.
So make sure you check out Dave's band at Naked Vengeance.
Yep.
Everything is nakedvengeance.com. Everything on social media is at Naked Vengeance, so follow them. Check me out at whatwashisname.com. NaryScience.com is the same thing as whatwashisname.com. Unfortunately, you can no longer check out my Tumblr because since Tumblr is being a dick about shit and deleting. No, I'm kidding.
Because it was all porn. It was all porn.
None of my shit. I didn't post anything. I didn't post actually. I only reposted like 3 Iron Man things, but
your feed would be dead. You don't follow anything but porn.
That is correct. I follow everything. I follow and like everything that's liked. All my posts that are liked are all porn. Every once in a while, like that's a cool Wolverine drawing. Look at this vagina. It was like that's all it is. So much to the point that when the news broke, when I asked her, I go, "Did you hear about Tumblr?" She goes, "I thought of you." Like she heard Tumblr is taking out porn, and she goes, "Oh, poor Nary."
What is Nary gonna do?
So, anyways, thank you, Steph. We love you, miss you. Thank you for checking out this extra long episode for the listeners. Sorry it's been long, but we play catch up when she's around. So, thank you guys. Check out everything at geekbro.net. That's including the What's Up Bro podcast, Zero's on Hero, Mama's Merlot, What's Good, Shiver, The Talking Geek, Mr. Multiverse, Comedy Fitness, and the new one, Better Let Me Tell You. So make sure you guys check that out.
We're growing.
And the other one that still hasn't been finished.
The other one that still hasn't been finished. A year and a half, buddy. Year and a half. So
wait
thank
for
you guys.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
20. Thank you guys for checking us out, man. That's how lists are made.